Okay, you're all set and ready to go.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the July 16th meeting of the Barnstable Town Council. I must ask if anyone, excuse me for 1 second here. I must ask if this meeting is being recorded and transmitted by the Town of Barnstable and is being broadcast over Channel 18 on the Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. If anyone is planning to make an audio or video recording or transmit the meeting, they are required to notify the chair before doing so. It's difficult and with a Zoom to do that. So I would ask that you try to communicate through the phone number, and then I'll be notified if somebody's trying to record. Thank you very much. At this time, Madam Clerk, I would ask for a roll call, please.
Councilors Biedenbender.
Here.
Bogan.
Present.
Clark.
Here.
Cullum. Dagwan. Rapgrissetti.
Present.
Hebert.
Present.
Levesque.
Here.
Neary.
Here.
Schnepp. Shaughnessy.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Steinhilber.
Here.
10. We have quorum.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Thank you. I would now, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask Councilor Bogan to kindly lead us. If you would all mute your mics and ask again Councilor Bogan to lead us in the Pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're muted, Paul.
Thank you very much. I would ask in this moment of silence, if we could, and to remember the loss of our town manager's father, who passed away. I would also ask you to be thoughtful of all those who have died in the COVID pandemic, and that we ask for protection for the rest of our country. Thank you very, very much. But we will now move into public comment. And while we're on that, I know that there's confusion on a newspaper article that was presented in the newspaper that caused tremendous confusion about whatever some of the measures that we're going to deal with this evening. But we welcome all of our citizens to do their public comment. We appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. We look forward to hearing from all of you. So thank you very much. So we'll now open for public comment.
First up for public comment is Janet Davis.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Councilor President. My name is Janet Davis, and I'm from Center for Concerned Citizens. And I'm here tonight to ask the town to appeal the First District Court's ruling in favor of T-Mobile. You're all familiar with the facts by now. We know these installations are dangerous. We know the outdated FCC regulations are stripping towns of their abilities to determine what infrastructures can come to their community. As a town, we have a huge decision before us. T-Mobile is trying to force its will upon the town of Barnstable. Their attempt to strip away the powers of the DCPC shows they have no regard for the dedicated citizens who work diligently to protect the very essence of our village that T-Mobile is so willing to destroy. When you look at this map, I'm not sure if Sarah has the map pulled up. It might be now. Here we go. When you look at this map, there are 215 homes located in the inner ring that will be exposed to the greatest risk for higher mortality rates and harm that come with being in such close proximity to an installation of this magnitude. Of these 215 homes, 11 are less than the length of a football field away from the T-Mobile installation. The closest home is within 80 feet. When you combine the number of homes in both rings, you have 320 that can expect to experience a 10% drop of their property value, along with being exposed to a slightly lesser degree of the constant electromagnetic radiation emitting from the tower. These 320 homes paid the town $1,460,834 in property tax last year. If T-Mobile installation is completed, the town could lose $146,000 annually in tax revenue. And if the church chooses to renew every 5 years as outlined in the contract, the loss for the town could total $3.5 million or more. So the town loses financially and the residents lose their sense of well-being and for some, their good health. If this isn't a cause worth fighting for, what would be? We can't let our disappointment with the judgment dampen our determination to continue. If we fear if the town accepts defeat at the lower court level, it will send the wrong message to others. Please don't let Barnstable become another statistic to add to the numbers that have lost to telecom. While going up against T-Mobile is daunting, by continuing to fight, you're showing T-Mobile and others that the town will not roll over and accept dangerous infrastructure without a valiant effort to stop them. In contemplating the possibility of the tower becoming a reality, I understand more fully why I've been consumed to stop it. When we become parents, we think there is no greater love. But when you become a grandparent, that love is multiplied 1,000 times over. As young parents, we think we will be there forever for our children. As a grandparent, you know you won't. We have the small window of time where we can love and protect them. That's what this case has been for so many of us, and why we must keep fighting, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Mr. President, we have Michael Arnold for public comment.
Michael, welcome.
Hey, am I on now?
You are, Mr. Arnold. Please go.
Okay. My name is Michael Arnold. I'm coming at this from a different direction. This is about the antennas and the church steeple as well. I live in Osterville, but I'm a member of the Centerville Concerned Citizen. And I joined because I'm against having these antennas in the South Congregational Church steeple. I'm calling to ask the town of Barnstable to appeal the judge's ruling against the town of Barnstable. I'm against the antennas in the church steeple because they don't belong in a church steeple, especially a historic 200-year-old church. Regardless of what T-Mobile said about poor reception in a small area of Centerville, that is not a valid reason to hide these antennas in this steeple. As I said, I live in Osterville. I have Verizon wireless telephone service. The service is so bad that I can't make a phone call or receive a phone call in my house and sometimes outside my house. I've accepted the fact that the technology is not perfect and I am making the best of the situation. I suggest that some T-Mobile cell phone customers can too, rather than forcing these antennas into a historic church steeple. Therefore, I ask the town of Barnstable to appeal the lower court ruling, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Michael. I thought it was only myself that couldn't use my phone, so thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. And I would ask, as you speak, if you would be kind enough to leave the meeting and watch us on channel 18, simply because the lines get clogged and makes it more difficult for others. So thank you very much. Okay, our next person for comment, please.
Next, we have Corinne Whitaker.
Welcome, Corinne.
You're muted, Corinne.
There. Oh. Unmute again.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
There you go.
So good evening. My name is Corrine Whitaker, and I'm a resident of Centerville. And I make these statements to strongly urge the town of Barnstable to pursue an appeal in the case of T-Mobile versus the town of Barnstable. I'm a lawyer, and I've followed these issues for over 6 years involving cellular antenna placement. It all started with another tower that I fought in another town successfully, thankfully. Both I and the lawyer for the Centerville Concerned Citizens believe there are valid bases for appeal here. Pursuing an appeal here is important for a number of reasons. Fighting this will show the telecom companies that going forward, that Barnstable does not back down or roll over on these issues. If Barnstable becomes known as the town that will fight these kinds of issues, the telecom companies will find less invasive ways of rolling out their networks, as other carriers have found in the same area. I think Verizon's installed, I know somebody's installed repeaters down on Craigville Beach. I live right down the street. What kind of slippery slope will this judgment create if we don't fight it? It renders the exclusion of the personal wireless facility law to DCPCs across the Cape essentially moot, especially in light of the non-discrimination requirement in the Telecommunications Act. Under the Telecommunications Act, a town cannot discriminate between carriers. So if one cellular provider is in, you have to let the rest of them in. And this would apply, I would assume, to all the districts of critical planning concern across the Cape again. So I strongly urge the town council to agree to pursue appeal in this case. And I just wanted to add that I had the pleasure of meeting the town's new legal team yesterday, and I am certain that they would craft an appeal that would give Barnstable the very best possible chance for a favorable outcome. So I strongly urge you to pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you, Karine. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if I may, we have been joined by Councilor Dagwan and Councilor Snap. Thank you. Okay, our next person for public comment, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next person to speak is Gary Conway.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Mr. Conway.
Welcome, Mr. Conway.
Hear me all right? I hope.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you.
The DCPC was always intended, in my opinion, as a way to protect our villages, and in this example, our quaint little village of Centerville. Just a few short weeks ago, we were ordered by our water company to boil our water due to contamination from private septic systems. Contamination can happen quickly or can accumulate over longer periods of time. Radiation from this cell tower will take longer to be absorbed, but over time, I assure you it will do just that. We all have cell phones, as do I, and I would ask between tonight and whenever this motion hopefully gets filed against T-Mobile that you pull out your owner's manual, perhaps you do it online, and hit Control F on your keyboard and search for liabilities inherent in our phones. Remember, this is a tower operating 24/7, not a handheld phone. This exercise will at a minimum point out the existence of radiation. We can all take a guess at what level of radiation will be emitted by this tower. Our decision about filing a motion against T-Mobile may not impact any of us, but what about our children who have no voice here tonight, but come as customers to the candy store and the ice cream shop, or appear as patrons to the Centerville Library? Like asbestos, smoking, we will add this to the list, wireless radiation, and it will be definitive for all. Thank you very much for allowing me to make my comments tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Conway, for calling in. Appreciate it. Sarah, thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Next is Jack D'Ambrosia. Jack, go ahead. Jack, you need to unmute. We can't hear you.
Is that better?
There you go. You're all set.
Okay, I apologize. Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity and certainly your service to the community. So who am I? I'm Jack D'Ambrosia, 36-year resident of 43 Bacon Lane, a family home that we've owned for quite a while. I'm also a taxpayer and a father, and hopefully someday a grandfather. And I'm very concerned. I don't know what I can tell you that you haven't already heard, but what I see is just a void of current, reliable information coming from our government that ultimately shows that they are interested in the health and well-being of people that perhaps are put in harm's way. So risk here at the very least, and very possibly a serious threat. And so a threat to my family, my neighbors, the parishioners of the church, the children buying candy in the country store. And again, I'm just very concerned that we don't have the protections or we can't rely on the FCC and the federal government to protect us here. And so I'm asking very clearly to appeal the ruling that was in favor of T-Mobile, to slow this thing down until we really understand what those risks are. Because I know we're not supposed to claim health as a valid sort of offset to this, but health and value are tied closely together. We're looking at investing quite a bit to expand our home and get ready for retirement and fill it with grandkids. And so I can imagine the uphill battle that that lies ahead in pushing back, but it takes courage to bring about change, and I'm hoping we can show that courage. And so again, I appreciate all that you do and for listening and for pursuing an appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Sarah, thank you.
Mr. President, we have Michelle Wohler on the phone.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening, Sarah.
My name is Michelle Wohler, and I'm a resident
sorry.
of Centerville. I'm calling in regards to the church cell tower. My husband and I want to encourage the town to appeal the ruling last month that was found in favor of T-Mobile. We recently sold our home in Centerville and are currently looking for a new home in one of the Barnstable villages. It's disheartening that when looking at prospective houses, we have to do our research to find out if they are near cell towers or 5G. I read that house prices will go down 10% due to the cell tower. I was actually surprised that the number was so low. It doesn't matter how charming historic Centerville is. We simply wouldn't buy a house there if the prices went down 50%. My family's health is simply not worth it, and I know many others feel the same way. So we wanted to ask the town leaders to continue their efforts to fight the completion of the T-Mobile tower in the church. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for calling, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Next up for public comment is Abby. Abby, now is your turn to speak. You need to unmute your microphone, please.
Unmute?
You're fine
Perfect.
now.
You're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, Abby.
Thank you.
So you may speak now, Abby.
I don't think I'm a participant. I'm a very interesting member. Am I in the wrong place? Maybe I shouldn't be here.
Oh, okay, thank you, Abby. I'm going to ask you to close out of the Zoom meeting and listen to us on channel 18, if you would be so kind.
I don't think I can do that. 18. I can't just see what was happening and not participate.
Well, it's just that it clutters up the many people and the
I'm very
screen.
interested in the first thing that you have on the agenda. Then I can go away.
Okay, we don't want you to go away. If you can see channel 18, that would be great too, but okay.
What is Channel 18? Is it television? I don't know what it is.
It's cable television. Okay, thank you, Abby. So you stay as long as you need to. That's fine, Abby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, our
Yes,
next public comment is Ellen Nozel.
thank you.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ellen Nozzle. I live in Centerville. I've lived here for 10 years. The subject that I am interested in addressing to the town council is one that's on your agenda this evening, although I'm not sure what form it will take. It's in regard to the regulation of short-term rentals in Barnstable. This is, as I'm sure you know, a sensitive matter. The biggest concern that my husband and I share with many other residents is the unlimited number of short-term rentals that could be allowed in any part of town, even those zoned exclusively residential. The very root of the word implies that people reside in such a zoned area. However, we are being asked to share our neighborhoods with people who do not reside here and most assuredly are not our neighbors. Let us not be naive in thinking that the owner of the maximum number of 2 short-term rental properties cannot own 2 more in a family member's name or 2 more in his company's name, etc. It is a slippery slope when there has been no limit set for the maximum number of short-term rental properties in Barnstable. All the while, legitimate hotel, motel, and bed and breakfast businesses suffer, which means the town as a whole suffers, as we are not collecting revenue from these businesses. At this moment, the real estate market on Cape Cod is red hot. Properties are being scooped up as rentals faster than families who hope to be residents can get to them. You're also aware of the fragile nature of our aquifer sources, septic concerns, and thickly settled areas. With so few checks in place for property use, these issues will further deteriorate, and there's no going back from that. We are being asked to be the eyes and ears for regulations that are in place or will be in place to manage such properties, as cited in Section 196 of Amendment 190, Good Neighbor Information. Frankly, I did not sign on for that job when I bought my home in a quiet neighborhood 10 years ago. If the house next door is hosting 50 people rather than the 6 that they are allowed, it becomes my job to file a complaint. Yes, I can call the police who will break up the party. Then I can file a complaint with the Inspectional Services Department. But by the time the slow wheels of justice have investigated the complaint, contact the owner, and set a hearing, Kappa Kappa Gamma's one night of destruction is long since over. And it's not just the property that is destroyed, it is a neighborhood of quiet, peaceful, law-abiding taxpayers. These are the good neighbors that town council should have first and foremost in their mind, not the owners of properties that allowed them to host a raucous party, one-night party, by not having to abide by minimum number of days for each rental. Penalties for violations are a pittance, and having to abide by a minimum and do not serve as a deterrent to owners who make a great deal of money in this industry. I realize that what is being discussed tonight may be a first step in this direction. However, I feel as though being cautious or being tentative with setting regulations at this point means that we're just going to have to revisit it in a year or so, and which leaves us fairly unprotected. While considering regulations for short-term rental properties in Barnstable, I implore you to have your first concern be to protect residential zones and aquifer protected areas such as the one I live in, and to consider the other issues I have shared with you this evening. Thank you very much.
Ellen, thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it very much. Next.
Next for public comment is Reza Madavi. I apologize if I butchered your name.
Oh, you did pretty good, actually. Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, the comment that I'd like to make is with regards to the cell tower in South Congregational Church. And I want to first of all thank you for having so far been on our side and been fighting for us. I'm grateful to it. So is the rest of the citizens of Centerville. Let me just say that I feel that this is a very unfair battle. We are fighting with a company as that it's worth, as of today, $130 billion. When they started actually the discussion with the church, their stock price was $65 a share. As of today, it is $107. The CEO of the company stepped away, who actually started this, after purchasing US Sprint. He made last year $65 billion. So we are in a very unfair situation to start with. But we have put all of our resources, all of our focus, and a team of unbelievable citizens from Centerville have been able to put together a very comprehensive fight against it. And I've been, again, thank you and the rest of the team to understand what we are against. We are at the time that COVID-19 has caused enormous amount of damage. None of us can see this virus. Very few people can actually measure it. Very few people can actually see it through very special instruments. And today, I had to put my mother to rest because she passed away due to COVID-19. It was not her fault. I can't blame anyone. It happened. Well, who am I going to blame, or who's going to help us, the citizens here? I can look at the church from here. I did not sign up when I came here to be part of a petri dish. So I really need everyone to understand what we're against. 1996, a law was passed for all the right reason at the time. The technology was at the early stages of first generation of GSM. And by the way, I have 35 years of experience in telecom world. I spent as a vice president, as president of Cisco Systems. So now we are at the situation that the technology continuously evolves. The radiation of it has gone substantially more. So we are now being bombarded when this tower goes on 24/7, and we have no idea what this is going to do to us because we cannot even have a conversation in this country around the health issues. Putting that aside, why do I need to lose 20% of my property value while Mr. Ledger walks away with $66 million last year? While T-Mobile can enjoy $140 billion of market cap. And by the way, 43% of the company is owned by people that they're sitting in Germany, and 25% of it is owned by SoftBank that people are sitting in Japan. I find this very unfair, that we need to be exposed day in, day out to something in here because someone wants to watch a movie, a Netflix movie, while they're in the beach. This is not right. And I really need everyone's support to fight for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madavi. We're sorry for the loss of your mother. We send you our sympathies. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking.
We'll just be 1 second while the next public comment enters.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Schulte, you're next for public comment.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bob Schulte. My wife and I are 25 plus year residents of Centerville and members of the Centerville Civic Association. I'd like to read into the record an email from various civic and homeowners associations that was sent to the entire council earlier today. Dear town council members, first, we appreciate efforts to preserve traditional Cape rentals to which no one has objections and to protect our residential neighborhoods from homes being used as businesses, homes to no one ever. The short-term rental discussion has become, at times, heated and unnecessarily factious. As citizens, we are certain that all parties to the discussion want to make sound decisions and enact STR ordinances and regulations that are in the best interest of us all, the town, our residents, and our businesses. We understand well and appreciate the difficulty in making such decisions. We feel the best way to accomplish this task is through a two-way dialogue between town officials and the public. The COVID situation has certainly made dialogue and understanding each other difficult. In the last several days, two things have occurred. First, the planning board deferred action on the zoning amendment until a future meeting. And two, town council representations were made to the public in the Cape Cod Times, as well as in a widely read village newsletter about a deferral of town council discussions on STR matters until August. Although an after-the-fact correction of the town council comments to the public in the media appeared in Wednesday's Cape Cod Times, just one day prior to tonight's meeting, the public has heard through multiple sources, including from a town councilor, that the council's discussions of STR matters will not occur any sooner than August 20th. For that reason, we respectfully request that the town council vote tonight to move any further discussion and/or vote on both town council items 2020-192 and 2020-193 until at least the fall of this year. This will hopefully allow public open meetings to be held in person and not in Zoom format to discuss and arrive at a reasonable resolution to this issue, which will have a permanent impact on the character of this town and its neighborhoods. We wish to preserve traditional Cape rentals and our residential neighborhoods and ask you to take steps to do the same. Respectfully and with appreciation for your efforts, the Centerville Civic Association, the Greater Hyannis Civic Association, the Osterville Village Association, the West Barnstable Civic Association, the Barnstable Village Association, and the Comaquid Heights Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schulte, for your comments. We appreciate it.
Next, we have Carrie. Carrie, now it's your turn to speak for public comment. You need to unmute your microphone, please. We can't hear you. You need to unmute your microphone.
My name is Rosalie McCarthy. I don't know how my daughter's name got on this. I live at 1310 Craigville Beach Road in Centerville. I would really urge that this district court decision be appealed. I think it's a travesty that we're even discussing this. This is a worldwide concern. There's a lot of countries and states across this nation that has taken steps to remove them or prevent the further structures of being built. This is a small community. It's a closed community. And I don't think we're being unreasonable in asking that the town of Centerville be free of these structures. I just don't understand this. With the coronavirus and now the threat of the 5G and the steeple of the church, I don't think anyone's going to feel safe anymore. And this will at least afford some measure of safety if this decision, hopefully you will appeal this decision, if it goes through. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up for public comment is Mark Schindler. Mark, now's your time to speak.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mark Schindler. I live on Pheasant Way in Centerville. I want to add my voice to the many that have expressed eloquently that 5G cell towers that are proposed to be installed in the church belfry are something that we as a community do not need nor desire in this location. Clearly, this is a technology whose safety is unproven. I see our local issue as that of preserving the unique quality of our historic central district of Centerville, as well as the health and the well-being of the families in our community. I think as I'm following the path of this, and I've been to a number of meetings, I'm getting the pretty clear understanding that the legal path to take on T-Mobile or really any carrier at the city or town level will be very challenging given the federal regulations in place. So it sounds to me that our most effective path is to pursue this at a higher level of jurisdiction, because I think clearly there are many other communities that are or soon will be affected in a similar way to what we're experiencing here. So my ask is that the board appeal this ruling so that we can bring our case and our unique story to a larger stage, and ideally recruit others to join us in the effort to fight the imposition of these units on our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you.
If I could just make a reminder that once you've completed your public comment, if you could leave the breakout session and you continue watching the meeting either on channel 18 or via our live stream, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Next for public comment is Jack Aruda. Jack, are you there?
I am here. Yep.
Okay, go ahead. Now's your chance to speak to public comment, Jack. You just need to unmute yourself.
Oh, I don't have any public comment to make. Somehow it just invited me into this room.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
Okay, so again, to the public, if you can get this on channel 18, we appreciate it. So we kind of clear the screen and we clear our system here. If you can't get it on channel 18, you are most welcome to stay on because this is your opportunity to listen to your town council. So, thank you.
Chris Rodstrom, are you here for public comment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now it's your turn to speak.
Hi, welcome, Chris.
Oh, thank you. I think we're going to be presenting as part of the Vineyard Wind project update, and I think that's when I was planning on commenting.
Okay. Yeah, we will be speaking later on. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sarah, Lynn, do we have anyone else?
There is no further comment by phone.
Thank you. And Sarah, do we have any more online? Q? Sarah?
She might be in the other room finding out if there's anyone coming to speak.
Oh, okay, thank you. Is it Beth, are you speaking next?
I think so, yes.
Okay, I guess you're on. Thank you, Beth.
Okay. Hi, I'm Beth Coette, and I'm speaking for myself and my husband. We live at 62 Pheasant Way, and I just wanted to echo what Mark Schindler remarks that he had made about having the town appeal this so that we can fight at a higher level, and say that we are definitely not in favor of seeing that tower in operation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beth. We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
President Hebert, that is it for public comment via Zoom.
Okay, thank you very much. And Lynn, are you still clear, Lynn?
Yes, thank you. There's no further public comment via phone.
Thank you both for handling this. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no one else for public comment, we're going to close public comment. And I would now ask Council's response to public comment. Councilors? Councilor Biedenbender, please.
Thank you, President Hebert. I just want to thank everyone for coming out and engaging and sharing your thoughts with us. I just want to, acknowledge in particular the Centerville Concerned Citizens and those that are concerned about the T-Mobile tower in the steeple. As you know, our conversations are continuing, and we will be regrouping as a town next week to discuss next steps. So just know that this is a priority issue, and we recognize how serious this is for our residents. And I certainly, I know that I can speak for everyone here on this council that the safety of our residents is always a #1 concern. So again, just thank you for coming out and sharing your thoughts with the council, and we'll be following up next week.
Thank you, Councilor Biedenbender. Any other councilors, please? Okay, we did have a meeting of some of the town attorneys yesterday with myself attending and Councilor Biedenbender. So I assure everyone that we're taking the T-Mobile tower seriously. We want to be effective in what we do. I have personally, I can't respond to all the emails and notes that I'm getting, but I did sign up for the amicus brief, the amicus brief that will be going out to the FCC for them to update their standards and to do research. We picked up some more good information yesterday. So as a counselor representing Precinct 3, I have already personally signed up for that amicus brief. So we'll continue to look at that. The other thing that, again, I apologize to the public that the notice that went out in the newspaper that I, the president, had said that we were going to move this forward to August was a misstatement. I had nothing to do with it. I was never interviewed by the newspaper. I did not give them that information. I did contact them for a correction. They did not correct that I was not even quoted, I was not even interviewed, and that the made a point that the president can never, once there's an item on the agenda, only the will of the council, only this council can move an item forward or decide that they're going to do something with an item. But the president does not have the authority to take an item off of this agenda once it's on there. And so only you, and I felt it was an insult to every councilor. You must have felt really concerned that some authority had been taken away from you and some responsibility. So I apologize for that newspaper article. We hope it'll never happen again. And no one is to speak for me. No one is to speak for the president or the vice president. That is inappropriate. So I know mistakes happen, especially if you're talking to the media. So just be advised to be very, very careful the accuracy of which you say things to the media. So thank you. Again, apologies to the public. And thank you for everyone who called in this evening with these most important matters. Thank you so much.
President Hebert, may I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
We still have a few people that were in for public comment. If you could please leave the breakout room at this time. I can remove you, but I'd rather not. I'd like you to leave on your own volition, just so you don't take up any of the space in the meeting. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. And I appreciate that, Sarah. The only person that I would exempt from that is Abby. If Abby does not have access to channel 18, I don't want to deprive her of her ability to participate.
She logged off.
She did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I don't want it to ever be said that I didn't give everybody an opportunity to speak. That's for sure. Thank you so much. And again, if there's no other councilors who wish to speak to public comment, I will now close public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public response from councilors to public comment. And we will move on to the town manager's communication. And we have town manager Mark Ells for us this evening. Thank you, Mark.
Good evening. Mark Ells, Town Manager. This is the Town Manager's update for the period of June 26th through July 16th. I'm going to begin with the Superintendent of our schools, Meg Mayo Brown, providing us with an update on her meeting with the school committee and in general relative to our fall school reopening. Meg?
Good evening, Town Council President Hebert, Vice President Grassetti, and members of the Town Council, Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown. I'm going to share my screen here, hopefully. Give me one moment. Can I just get a head nod from you, Mark Ells, that you can see that? Thank you. So Town Manager Ells asked me to provide some information to the Town Council regarding our plans to bring back our Barnstable students to school as we reopen this fall. So I have a few slides, and then I'm happy to take any questions that the Town Council may have about our planning process. Maybe. Okay. Sarah, I may have to have you do okay. So there are a number of reopening components to our design process. First, we are subject to state guidance coming out of the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. 3 weeks ago, we received fall reopening guidance. Last week, we received special education guidance, and then the Commissioner's Office released a frequently asked question guide on July 10th. At the end of May, I established a reopening steering committee and task force subcommittees. While we were waiting for this guidance to come out, we didn't want to wait to start planning until the end of June. We wanted to get a head start on our planning, think about various scenarios that we would have for reopening. So when the state level guidance and mandates came out, we could plug those in. So our and I believe the Town Council has a communication from me from a couple of weeks ago that described our steering committee and task force subcommittees. But we have a number of subcommittees focusing on curriculum instruction, the physical learning environment, operations, behavioral health, special education, educator and staff support, our COVID-19 protocols, and co-curricular activities, which also include athletics. And of course, we're very fond of surveys. We've surveyed our staff, we've surveyed our families. We'll continue to do that. We have an open survey right now for our staff members. And then tomorrow, I'm releasing a transportation survey because it's critical that we have an understanding from our families, excuse me, how many need, and then how many parents, because of the pandemic, would actually prefer to transport their child to school. So this is just another way to take a look at our planning process. So again, end of May, we launched the reopening steering committee. Those DESE guidance and mandates came in June 25th and July 9th. We're currently conducting a feasibility of in-person learning because the commissioner has asked all districts in the state of Massachusetts to prioritize in-person learning. But in order to prioritize in-person learning, we first need to determine how many students we can accommodate in a building and in a classroom with our physical distancing requirements. So that is the work that is ongoing right now through this month. We're required to submit that feasibility study to the state on July 31st. Meanwhile, we continue to draft our reopening plan. We'll be releasing that for feedback and input. We have recently put together a parent advisory committee on reopening, and the parents that are serving in that capacity for us are our parents who are actively engaged in their school council. So we've pulled school council parents to a larger task force with us to begin to review our reopening plans. On August 5th, I'll submit the reopening plan to the school committee for their discussion and approval. We anticipate that we may need to have some policy and perhaps budgetary adjustments as a result of the plan. And then on August 10th, the plan goes to the Commissioner of Education for approval at the state level. Our guiding principles for reopening are coming out of the state level guidance and our own priority on health and safety. So we will be requiring that all students in second grade through the high school need to wear masks, are required to wear masks. I have here that we're encouraging masks for our preschool kindergarten and first grade students. That's in the guidance. We will require that age group to bring masks to school. And certainly for anybody that will be riding the bus, masks will be required. But for our youngest children, we're asking our teachers to develop mask wearing habits with our pre-K, kindergarten, and first graders. As long as they're 6 feet apart, in the guidance, it indicates that this age group does not need to wear masks. But again, our teachers will do a terrific job of building that habit and will use their professional judgment throughout the course of the school day as to when our youngest children are expected to wear their masks. And it probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. All adults are required to wear masks. We're going to provide opportunities for frequent hand washing and sanitizing, implementing physical distancing to protect our students and staff. I will say that the state guidance has indicated that a minimum of 3 feet can be implemented. We feel that that's not enough and are striving toward 6 feet and probably landing on 5 feet. Now, I have a picture to show you in just a minute. We're going to use cohort grouping. Then that means keeping the same groups of kids together as much as possible and feasible. We're going to implement protocols for transitions and meals and cleaning and disinfecting and the sharing of any materials. And certainly prioritizing staying at home when sick. That goes for staff or students. This is a classroom at Barnstable, West Barnstable Elementary School. These are desks at 5 feet apart, just to give you a sense of what our classrooms will now look like. And, if you were to walk into many of our elementary classrooms last year, you would have seen that our students would be grouped by and large in tables, because much of our instruction is about having kids work in small groups and collaborating and thinking and working together. And this is sort of this model now of everybody in desks and in rows is necessary, certainly for the physical distancing component, but unlike what we've seen in education for a number of years. It's hard to tell in this picture, but at the first, there's a teacher zone in the front of the room, which is a 7-foot teacher zone. So there's 7 feet between what you see there as the whiteboard and the first row of student desks. And that, again, is to give the physical distancing for our staff. However, we know that particularly at the elementary and certainly other grades, teachers are moving about the classroom. They don't teach from the front of the room. So that was part of our rationale for indicating that our desks, we're going to go above and beyond what the state is saying is the distance at 3 feet, because as soon as you start to put a teacher body between those desks, if they were at 3 feet, they would no longer be 3 feet, right? Because you've got another person in there. I want to share with you our current thinking and planning about where we are for each of our grade spans. At the Enoch Cobb Early Learning Center, we serve over 200 children. Many are students with disabilities. They are 3- and 4-year-olds. That planning process is complex and ongoing because, as you can imagine, trying to keep 3- and 4-year-olds in a mask or physically distanced at 6 feet, particularly for some of our students who require close proximity with their teacher or assistant or hand-over-hand support in the learning process. So we are continuing to think about what preschool can look like in this scenario. For our K through 3 schools, Hyannis West, Centerville, West Villages, Barnstable Community Innovation School, and Barnstable West Barnstable, we are able to prioritize in-person learning, largely because of the classroom size. We can do 5 feet physical distancing. Again, in our K through 3 schools as we consider reopening. And again, with that 5 feet of physical distancing, masks are required for all adults and students in grades 2 through 3. Our kindergarten and first grade students will always be 6 feet apart, with our kindergarten and first grade teachers building that habit of wearing masks throughout the day. Barnstable United Elementary School, we are currently in the process of the feasibility study to see what we can do for physical distancing there. The classrooms at BUE are smaller than our K through 3 classrooms. It is likely, although not determined yet, that because of capacity limits, we may require a hybrid model at BUE, and I'll talk about what that hybrid model might look like in the next slide. But again, as we think about our classrooms and getting students 5 feet apart, we are limited by the walls of the classroom. Now, BUE does have approximately 12 to 14 other classrooms in the building. You can think about the art room, the music room, spaces such as that. We're looking into that to see if we utilize those spaces, can we do in-person learning? Barnstable Intermediate School is faced with the same situation in terms of capacity will limit our ability for physical distancing. Therefore, we're looking at a hybrid model for BIS. And Barnstable High School, I can say to you tonight, without a doubt, will be a hybrid model due to capacity limitations. For the high school, we're looking at dividing our students up into 2 cohorts, cohort A and cohort B. And with cohort A would go to school in person 1 week, and then the following week, that cohort A would be engaged in virtual learning, which would allow cohort B to then come in for in-person learning. I have on there AB days because it's a way, as our students are taking 7 courses, it's not going to be possible to schedule 7 courses in a single day or 6 courses even in a single day, given the sort of systems we need to have in place for passing and meals. So we're looking at an A day and a B day. An A day, a student would take 3 of their 7 courses. And then when they come to school the next day, they would take the remaining 4 for their courses. So again, just to summarize, the state guidance is asking us to prioritize in-person learning. Certainly prioritizing in-person learning for our students with disabilities and our English language learners. I think that you'll see, particularly where I've designated that we may be looking at a hybrid model, that our students with disabilities and our English language learners would not be in a hybrid model, rather they would be in person daily. We are conducting our feasibility study at this point, and we'll need to submit that to the state by July 31st. So I keep using the term hybrid. Some folks call it blended learning. And again, Barnstable Intermediate and Barnstable High School will likely be on a hybrid model. Explain the cohort A, cohort B. So again, a week in person and a week virtual for each cohort. We talk about synchronous learning, which our definition of that is instruction at a specified time. You can think of Zoom or sort of live streaming instruction, where asynchronous is more at a self-directed pace. In the most recent parent survey that we administered toward the end of June, the parental and family feedback was clearly for more synchronous learning to occur as we engage in any sort of virtual learning for next year. So we're in the process of determining the extent to which we were doing synchronous and the extent that we're doing asynchronous. And you'll often hear a terminology now around a learning management system. The other piece of feedback that we received from our families is, could we please pick one platform to use? Parents, particularly if at the upper grade levels, were having to help their children really manage a couple of different things, whether it was Google Classroom, Schoology, Seesaw. So we know we need to narrow down that system to 1 or 2. And then I'm showing this slide just to give you a sense of what we're still waiting for from the state. Knowing that our schools are opening up at the end of August, it's challenging. It's challenging to try and create reopening plans and documents when we're still waiting for this long list of guidance from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. In their June 25th notice to districts, when they issued the fall guidance, they said, we can expect guidance on what you see there in bold. I'm not going to go through and read it. But again, some of that is critical for us, particularly around transportation, athletics, co-curricular activities, and facilities. I also want to share that Barnstable Public Schools was selected as a pilot design site. 1-8 Foundation, we've worked with them in the past couple of years. They just sort of by chance read our reopening task force and steering committee document that I had shared with the town council a couple of weeks ago, and wrote, a member of 1-8 Foundation wrote to me and said, I'm not sure we've seen another district in as solid a planning position as Barnstable, and invited us to be a part of this, what you see here, as a pilot design site with Ariadne Labs, which I'm very excited about, to be working with really great minds from Brigham and Women's and Harvard School of Public Health, as well as the Learning Accelerator, who's doing some really great thinking about remote learning and how we transition to instruction that's now in desk and rows, where we've been in more of a small group collaborative instructional model. You can see the bullets on the right hand there, side of the slide, in terms of as a design site, what we will be engaged with this partnership. And lastly, next steps. As I mentioned, we're going to release the transportation survey to families tomorrow. We have a staff survey out right now. We'll analyze the results. It closes tomorrow. We're continuing to bargain with the Barnstable Teachers Association around working conditions as we reopen. We're finalizing the draft of our reopening guide, which will then solicit stakeholder feedback and input on our plans. And the commissioner has asked that districts not publish their final plans until mid-August. They don't want our community and families to think that will be the first time we'll be communicating with them. We will communicate as we're drafting and putting together our more finalized and formalized reopening guide, again, for feedback, but always with the caveat it's subject to change based on state guidance or where we are with the virus. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and welcome any questions.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. It was a great presentation. Thank you for continuing to teach our kids and to take their safety and the safety of your staff and your teachers and all of your staff above everything else. And we don't want to lose anybody, any of our kids, any of your staff. So thank you very much. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
We'll open up any counselors' comments, questions to the superintendent. Counselor Snep, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Superintendent Brown. This is a tough situation to have to plan for. And given the surge in coronavirus across the country, are you also planning to go to a complete remote model at the same time that you're trying to prioritize in-person learning?
Yes, we need to submit 3 plans, and we are creating plans for in-person, hybrid, and remote. We want to easily pivot to remote should we need to close a school or a number of schools. We envision when we open up in September, assuming we are in person, that we are starting right away with one-to-one devices for all of our students. The teachers are using Google Classroom, which is our online program in class with students, so that, again, if we need to pivot, it will be seamless versus trying to get it up and running.
Okay. A follow-up question. Do you envision doing any, not testing, but screening of students or faculty as they enter the building every day?
So yes and no. So the guidance from the state is indicating that schools do not need to screen, that they're asking families to screen their children before they would send them to school, that families need to be the first line of defense on that. And we need to build a culture of don't send your child to school if there are any symptoms within the child or in the family. So that's sort of the first part of it. The second part of it is training our bus drivers, all of our school staff on what to look for in terms of symptomatic children. And then each school will have a COVID-19 isolation room that students or staff members will be sent to if they are exhibiting any symptoms at school.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Snap. Councilor Starr, you had a comment. Thank you.
Oh, good evening, Ms. Mayor Brown. I also sit on the Infrastructure and Energy Committee, and we've had a couple long conversations about. We know that this virus is airborne, and it's so important to look at the air movement and the filters in the air exchange, and you can buy filters that do a very good job, and moving the air more quickly would. So I just think that's something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Councilor Levesque, please.
I just wanted to comment and thank Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown for presenting tonight. That was a great catch up and clear and concise presentation. And as a parent of students who are in the school system, I just really appreciate it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Levesque, and also thank you, Councilor Starr, for your comments. And Vice President, Madam Vice President, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Superintendent. I guess you won't be encouraging perfect attendance at school any longer, which is a good thing. Is there talk about if you go to an A-B scenario, when the A class are in-house, will the B class be able to follow along and so that they could learn but from home at the same time that the students are in the classroom, so they can be a part of the classroom but not physically be a part of it?
Absolutely, that's my preference, and that's when we say synchronous learning, we would envision, right, that the students who are in person are receiving that instruction in person, but those students that are at home are able to join that instruction remotely.
And how are you dealing with families who may have very unstable Wi-Fi connection, or how are you going to vet that their ability to learn from afar?
So we piloted some hotspots with a number of families in the spring who didn't have strong connectivity, and we'll continue to do that so that we can support them.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Any Councilor Neary, please. Councilor Neary. Councilor Neary.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Dr. Mayo Brown, for your presentation. Just a quick question. How do you, will any of the, I don't even know what they call them anymore, superlatives, art, music, those type of things, will those continue on? How does it, what's the integration with the staff? And what are your plans for that? I know it's an extremely difficult situation you're faced with. I'm just curious if that's going to go on.
We call those enrichment or specials. So those will continue, again, as we're developing our plans for the high school. I spoke about students take 7 classes. Those enrichment or specials are certainly part of that. At each of our grade level spans, students will continue either in person or remotely to engage with those areas as well. And, I do want to say that for our in-person learning, it's important that we include mask breaks and physical activity for our kids. So when you think about physical education, that's going to be critical, that we continue all of that as we do school in a new way.
Thank you. Good luck as well.
Councilor Dagwan has a question.
Okay, and I also have Councilor Beating-Bender, please.
Councilor Dagwan, why don't you go first?
Councilor Dagwan, please.
Thank you, Brett. Just to the Superintendent Mayo Brown, congratulations on our school system being picked as a pilot. This seems very interesting, and it's nice to see. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Am I too loud? I can never tell where I'm at. For the being chosen to pilot this innovative idea. But someone spoke just a little while ago about the mask wearing, and you answered the question one of the questions I was going to ask is about having a mask break. Just seeing the teachers, having to wear the mask all day long and how that's going to be addressed. So thank you for answering that question for me. I guess just concerning I guess you'll get feedback sooner or later about the bus. That kind of concerned me too, how children will proceed on the bus, separating every other seat and how many children you will be able to accommodate doing that. And will we need more buses?
So I can answer that. We're waiting. The state is either, the medical board at the state level is either going to authorize 2 students per row, right? So 1 child per seat, 2 per row, or 4 per row, 2 children per seat for 4 per row. It's going to significantly reduce our capacity to transport children. So that's why part of the reason I'm putting out the survey for transportation is we need to know, parents may not want to put their children on the bus because of the virus anyway, right? There might be a fear or anxiety about doing that, or just a preference to drive your child to school where normally you might have had bus transportation. So but we do know that it's going to be unlikely that from our bus vendor that they can get additional buses to be able to meet the needs. If the medical board at the state level approves a ridership of 4 children per row, we're going to be in a much better position. Now, that said, when our students board the bus, they're going to need to use hand sanitizer upon boarding. They will need to wear masks at all times on the bus. And the guidance is that all the bus windows are down so that there's good air ventilation while students are being transported. And then between our bus runs, our bus company will disinfect and sanitize the bus for the next run.
And my final question, I've been asked by many parents, not only is the COVID virus a major issue that we're dealing with our school, but one of the other major issues have come up recently is the Black Lives Matter issue. And is the school system incorporating anything to relieve the pressure or help students understand the issue and how to deal with it, particularly children of color?
Yes, and I made a presentation to the school committee last night on this topic, and I'd be happy to come back and talk more about it with the town council. But briefly, we envision our work around equity in 4 areas. The first area is individual mindsets, so understanding, and I should say the framework is around professional development, curriculum, and instruction. So individual mindsets around understanding and acknowledging oppression and racism. The second area is around building racial literacy. So how do we talk about race in the school system and in our schools? The third area is curriculum. So how do we infuse more works and topics relative to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And then the fourth area is culturally responsive teaching in terms of building that into to instructional practices. So there's work going on in each of those 4 areas. And again, I'd be happy to come back and talk more in depth about it if that's something the council would like.
No, thank you for that. So I would assume it's being incorporated into all the subject areas, math, science, or is it just going to be a history sort of directed direction?
We're looking at both history, English, and I should say we're looking K through 12, not reserving this for the high school. But I can tell you we did a recent audit last month in our English department at the high school in terms of what students were reading. And we now know that 85% of what our students are reading are written by white men, white Anglo men, right? So now we know that, and now adjustments need to be made to our curriculum to infuse different works into that. So that's just one small example of the work that's going on. I can also tell you when I talk about individual mindsets and working in that area, we have over 150 teachers and other staff members right now reading Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. We have 3 teachers Chrissy Williams, Kate Scholes, and Mike Ferrer, who formed the Barnstable Ally Group, and they see themselves having 1 foot in schools doing this work and 1 foot in the community. And then in the area of culturally responsive teaching, we've been engaged with the work of Zaretta Hammond for probably 3 years now. So again, we've been doing, there's been a number of initiatives in the school department around this work. I think the terrific thing right now is that work is getting amplified and accelerated.
Yeah, great resources. I also think it might be helpful to incorporate bringing in some role models. I think a lot of our kids of color just don't see enough people of color within the school system. So, with these various resources, and I think you've got some great ones just listening to what you just said, having people come in as well to be present, to read, to act out, to, when I say act out, I mean play, acting, that type of thing, in any way that you can. So we do have, children just get a little bit more exposure than they've had in the past. I've read to the elementary schools, High West, and several of them over the years. I've been a part of the boards to select superintendent. I wasn't part of your selection, but glad to have you. But to have someone of color engaged in some of this, I found it was very helpful for me as a person of color. And I think it helped a lot for communication among with parents to feel as though, okay, you've included somebody, and I'm not just I'm an African American, but we have a lot of Haitians that are here. We have, of course, the Brazilian community that's here. Asians, I don't think I ever see any Asians that are included in over the years that I was on the school committee, either that were invited in to participate. And I think we have to reach for these participants. Sometimes they're just not going to come on their own. You try to track down 1 or 2 or somebody you see whose child is involved in the school. So I think just to see a mixture, I think that's what I'm trying to say. And again, thank you for your presentation and good luck with the school opening. And I know so many of us have said anything we can do to help out, we'd be glad to. So feel free to call on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dagwan. Councilor Beden-Bender, please.
Thank you. Actually, Counselor Dagwan covered half of what I wanted to ask, so it was great to hear that back and forth between the two of you. I'm really encouraged by the direction that you've started to take this in, so thank you. Also very impressed by your presentation. You know, I can't imagine what it's like trying to coordinate this. I think teachers and school districts are probably in the most difficult situation of everyone at this point. So I just commend you, and I feel for you. The second thing is just out of curiosity with the remote learning, with the hybrid models. And I'm assuming that you have all this covered, but I just need to ask, you know, not all kids have the same access to computers or internet access, and just wondering, you know, have you identified which kids need the help, which kids might need computers at home, especially with the situation where we still have parents working from home, we still have multiple people in a family needing a computer, and how are we addressing those kind of needs? Like how are you working around that?
In the spring, we were able to give every family, every student that needed a device, usually a Chromebook. We distributed all of the Chromebook. The high school was easy, right? Students already had. We are a one-to-one initiative in grades 8 through 12. So it was a matter of getting the devices into the hands of our students in kindergarten through 7. Our school principals did that work. We had multiple days of curbside pickup where families could go and get a device. They still have those. Our plan is that we'll refresh those for families that need them. The goal is that every student, kindergarten through 12th grade, has a one-to-one device, so that we will not miss a beat when we need to, or if we need to, when we need to go to remote learning if there's a closure.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Biedenbender. I just saw another hand go up. Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Dr. Mayo Brown. I just want to look at it from a slightly different perspective, and you may have touched upon this, so forgive me. One area was transportation, and you've spoken to that. The teachers, that's what I'm thinking about now, and you did indicate that there's a survey out there. I guess I'm thinking about it from two perspectives. How do you deal with teachers that may be at a higher risk because they have underlying conditions? And then if the model is, as I've heard in many cases, which is kids will eat in the room for lunch, et cetera, how do teachers get a break during the day?
We will build in, our students will, it's really case by case depending on the school facility, but kids will always be 6 feet apart to eat. And whether that's in the cafeteria or whether half of the students stay in the classroom and are 6 feet apart and half go to the cafeteria. We're committed to making sure that there's that 6 feet of distance during meals. Teachers will be scheduled in for their lunches as they normally are. It's part of their teachers, their contract. And so in working with our school principals, that's not going to be an issue. I want to emphasize that, you know, in terms of everything that we're doing is through a lens of health and safety first. So that's when we're making decisions, it's around mask wearing, physical distancing, hand hygiene, before we start to talk what education is going to look like. And I do have a staff survey out there, and for teachers that have who are unable to return in person, we do know that a percentage of our families are not going to return. They're going to keep their kids home, right? And so those children will be opting into remote learning. We're going to need a pool of educators to do remote only instruction. So our thinking is for those teachers who can't return to in-person, they'll be our pool of teachers that are doing remote learning. The devil will be in the details of how that all works out and how that all lines up. But that's in terms of, because we need to know how many of our families are not returning in order to determine how many remote learning only teachers we need.
Thank you. And just a follow up, just for the record, with regard to Councilor Dagwan's suggestion that you enlist the assistance of other people of color. You did ask me to read a chapter that was videotaped a couple of weeks ago. So we are doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Bogan. Any other councilors? Okay. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to thank you so much, Superintendent, for attending tonight and wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Councilor Neary, was that a wave to the superintendent, or was?
That's exactly what it was, Mr. President.
Well done. Thank you, Councilor Neary. Well done. Super. Okay. So back to you, Town Manager, Mr. Markels, please.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank the superintendent. And I think the council knows, but the superintendent is always welcome to participate during town manager communication. And she and I speak weekly about what the topics are and what opportunities we might have through this particular means of communication. So more than happy to have her back on the issues identified and any and all other as we move forward. She'll be a regular. We closed out FY 2020 with all general fund operations coming in under their respective budgets, and I've attached a memorandum with detailed information on closing out FY 2020. Total returned appropriations for the general fund are approximately $4.6 million against a budget of $177 million. Additionally, the town collected over $5 million in back taxes owed to us. And I want to thank the Treasury Division for their efforts in this collection of these back taxes. Actual general fund revenue exceeded the budget estimates by $2.4 million for FY 2020. So that's through June 30th. The largest contributor to the surplus and the revenue were motor vehicle excise taxes, which came in at $1.1 million over our budget estimate. So that's good news. Enterprise fund operations, and we have 9 enterprise funds. They varied on their whether they met their revenue estimates or not. 5 enterprise funds fell short on their revenue estimates. Of the 5, 3 were able to cover their revenue deficits with returned appropriations, meaning we do not spend as though it is a fixed budget in any year. We track our revenues against those dollars spent, and we manage our budgets in our enterprise funds as best we can to especially the variable portion of the expenses. We manage those, and in this case, our 3 of those were able to manage and close their budgets within budget, meaning they spent less, but they also generated less revenue. Of the 2 that could not, the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund shortfall was collected in July, and therefore offsetting the deficit. So we were able to close with a balanced budget. And if you remember, our stickers are due at the end of June, and you're supposed to have a new sticker by July 1, but we allowed our customers a 30-day grace period. So some of our revenue just came in during July rather than coming in traditionally when it would, which would have been in June. So solid waste closed out okay. Our golf division was able to offset over half of its revenue deficit with returned appropriations. Our golf division surplus will cover the $275,000 shortfall. We've conservatively estimated for FY 2021 revenues in anticipation of a continuation of the economic downturn, and will report on said revenues as information is compiled. So you'll be hearing from Director Milne and myself. In speaking with Director Milne, I believe, fall is probably when we'll have a better handle on how we're progressing in FY 2021, given those conservative revenue estimates. So we'll keep you advised as we progress on this. The Assistant Town Manager, the Finance Director, Human Resources Director, Director of Property and Risk Management, and myself have been meeting with the directors of our municipal departments to discuss each department's operations plan and how we will move forward with providing programs and services in the town of Barnstable. We've effectively implemented a workplace with contactless service and developed the ability to work remotely in providing those services. I anticipate continuing with this type of work and in our ongoing efforts to provide a high quality of service and programming to our residents, visitors, and businesses, and I'll keep you advised. So I was asked during budget, how are we considering this? We're not only considering it, we've done it, and we've done it successfully. And this will be part of the way we do business going forward. We do not anticipate that we will move into the fourth phase of recovery soon, maybe next spring. I think we're going to be challenged with a different world when we're done with this situation. And Town of Barnstable and its employees will be ready to continue to serve its community with a mix of face-to-face, by appointment, remote, and contactless service. And I'll keep you updated as we solidify those plans. As a reminder, the Town of Barnstable continues to follow the orders and directives of our governor, and I've attached the most recent situational report provided on July 15th of this year. We are in phase 3, step 1 of the governor's 4-phase recovery plan. And I just want to remind everybody that we are required to adhere to proper social distancing. And if we cannot, we must wear face coverings. I can't encourage our public enough to please adhere to this. We are beginning, even though we don't see trends yet, to see some spikes here on Cape Cod. And we're very concerned. We do not want to have to limit facilities. We do not want to have to see our Commonwealth step back into a prior phase. So we are very concerned. So we are encouraging everybody to adhere to social distancing, to wear face covering. The governor has issued a directive that all visitors are expected to self-quarantine for 14 days, except those who live in New England, in New York, and in New Jersey. And we ask people visiting Massachusetts and Cape Cod that they please adhere to that. Massachusetts expects that all visitors will wear masks or face coverings in public places. And especially when you can't keep that 6-foot distancing. And we just ask that they practice social distancing regardless of which state they come from and what the orders and directives are of that state. When you're here in Massachusetts, we expect you to comply with the orders and directives of the state of Massachusetts. At our beaches, the same social distancing requirements apply. There's also a limitation on the number of people in a group, and the governor has modified some of the outdoor group size requirements, but not on beaches. It is still limited to 10 people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So our visitors and our residents, please need to be aware of this and adhere to this. And for the most part, they have. We just don't want to see ourselves having to step back and restrict us being able to move forward and getting back to life safe. There's, let's see, what do I have left here? We're encouraging everybody to go to mass.gov. So many people will say something to me, especially when it's incorrect. And I'll ask them if they've taken the time to go to our website or go to mass.gov to the COVID portion of that website and read the orders and directives. And they're really simple. They're a page and a half, 2 pages tops. Specific areas, there's a long list of them at this point. The majority of the time, people have not. I would encourage you as a business owner, as a resident, please do that. You can answer most of your own questions, and then you'll obviously have to make your own decisions as to how you're going to proceed with this. And I can only encourage personal responsibility here. Please adhere to these standards. If we have to move backwards, it will be hugely problematic on all levels. Barnstable's been notified by the governor that we've been designated as a housing choice community in 2020, and this is the second housing choice designation for Barnstable. This designation recognizes Barnstable's efforts to support housing production over the past 5 years and have several benefits, including the opportunity to apply to housing choice capital grants. Barnstable was previously designated in 2018, and we were awarded $250,000 that we used to upgrade sewer lines in the downtown. Hyannis, enabling new resident, that sewering allowed us in Hyannis to enable new residential units access to the wastewater supply. So that's a good thing, and congratulations to our staff in obtaining that designation again. The TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, is the governmental agency overseeing all airports, security regulations, and requires that each airport, based on their size and operation, implement and regulate security measures with an airport security program. These programs are maintained and updated and enforced by each airport operator, and the TSA must conduct annual inspections of the airports on these procedures. The annual inspection is conducted over a 30-day period and covers many aspects of the security and usually has a special emphasis. During the 30 days, the TSA inspector will conduct undercover tests of security measures by trying to enter the areas without wearing an ID or attempting to get onto a boarding aircraft without a ticket, to gauge the response to such security incidents by our employees. Additionally, the inspector completes a comprehensive review of the airport security records, including required training certification, ID holder training, clearance records, security audits required to be conducted by the airport. Failure to pass the inspection could yield written violations and potentially monetary fines starting at $11,000 for chronic violations. Of course, the bigger picture for compliance is the protection of the passengers, employees, and national airspace, which the airport feeds into. This past month, the airport completed its 2020 inspection, in which the inspector stated, "I have just completed all of the paperwork and submitted your final annual comprehensive inspection. And as you know, there were no issues. As always, your operation runs very well, and it is a pleasure to work with Christina Lunsberry from our airport and all of you. Katie Service is extremely proud of the efforts of the airport staff and airport tenants that make this happen year after year. So great job, Katie. Certainly a big issue for us with a municipal airport, and I'm glad to hear it reported out well. We continue with the regular conversations with Vineyard Wind regarding the status of Phase 1 and Phase 2 project. Vineyard Wind continues to work with Barnstable staff regarding both phases of the project. They anticipate commencing construction on Phase 1 in the spring of 2021 and are proceeding with the permitting of Phase 2. A workshop is planned with Vineyard Wind later this evening to further discuss remaining of approvals by the town of Barnstable and specifically town council for phase 1 project to continue as scheduled. And as always, we'll keep you advised as we progress on this. The Barnstable Land Trust is hosting a virtual annual members meeting today, where they will honor Barnstable's Director of Natural Resources, Nina Coleman, and some other Barnstable residents. The board's chair praised Nina's leadership in conservation and education and environmental education. And this award honored her vision of a beautiful and healthy Cape Cod environment. Nina will receive the Founders Award for her dedication to protect Sandy Neck, one of the region's most important and vulnerable ecosystems, and for her work in sharing the beauty of our natural resources. Congratulations, Nina. Great job. The governor has proclaimed July 12th, we kind of forget about this one, July 12th to July 18th, Hurricane Preparedness Week. Now, I hope I'm not jinxing us by bringing this up, but in any other year, this would be something we would all be tuned into at this point. I think we need to do it every year, even though we're in this health situation. And the governor does that in an effort to emphasize both the Commonwealth's potential vulnerability to tropical storms and hurricanes and the importance of preparing for their impact, including taking necessary precautions during this health event. Residents and visitors are encouraged to use this week to prepare for hurricanes, tropical storms, and other emergencies. And I've given you links to various information in case our residents do reach out to you. This information is available on our website. And it's suggesting that our residents make emergency plans, build emergency kits, remain informed, and know your evacuation zone. So, you know, just this isn't something to minimize. We're a coastal community, and in the event of a significant storm event, we need to be ready. Not just your municipal government. We are always planning for this. And we are planning in the sense of running simulations and assuming that it will happen every year, even though fortunately it hasn't. But for our residents, you cannot minimize this. You need to pay attention. We are a coastal community. Many of you live along that coastline, and you need to be aware of the significance of an event like this. That concludes my town manager's update. And I'll take any questions, and I'm going to ask that Director Santos provide us with an update on our comprehensive water management plan. We haven't had one in over a month, so I'll have him conclude with that. Thank you.
So Mark, would you like to take questions or comments before Dan or after?
I can take them now if you would like, and then you may have questions of Dan relevant to the comprehensive water management plan when he's done.
Okay, so I'd like to open up for any councilors that have comments, questions on the town manager, please. Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mark. Outstanding report, very comprehensive. You've got more than a few things going on. This is more of a reminder. I wasn't sure if you or Chief Sonovan were going to give a briefing on the incident that happened in January. I just don't want to let that go. And when I went to look to see if it was you or Chief Sonovan, I noted that the minutes of that meeting, which I think was the June 4th meeting, aren't on the website. So I'm not sure who takes care of that, but if we could have that done and get that briefing before the August meeting, that'd be great.
Okay. Yes, sir.
But otherwise, outstanding. A lot going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Clark, please. Councilor Clark.
Thank you very much, Councilor President Hebert. I agree with Councilor Bogan. Outstanding report. You do have a lot going on, and I appreciate your leadership during these trying times. We did echo the congratulations to Sandy Neck Park Manager Nina Coleman at the Sandy Neck board meeting this past Monday. And not only does she deserve the recognition for the Founders Award, but also Phyllis Miller from our town received also an award today as the President's Award from the Barnstable Land Trust. As you know, she's been a volunteer for the Barnstable Land Trust, a member, longtime member of Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee, and served on the town manager's selection committee that brought us you. And also is the town of Barnstable's representative to the Santuit Preserve Management Committee. So thank you for recognizing Nina. I just want to put in a good word for Phyllis as well. Thank you, Council President.
Yep, didn't mean to overlook Ms. Miller, and congratulations to her as well.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. And just so everyone knows, when I attend the Buddhist meditation, sometimes when we're filled with joy, we do this kind of silent clap. So since this is our new way of living, if you feel that you need to express yourself, you do this. And everybody, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Dagwan would like to speak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to speak about the housing choice designation. Just glad that Barnstable was able to be chosen again. We were chosen, as he said, in 2018. There were 67 communities who were selected for this particular initiative, and we happened to be one of it. And the reason we were chosen is the communities were able to take advantage of the new financial resources, including executive access to new housing choices. But they were looking for you to have a track record of pursuing substantial housing productions and committed to continuing that trend. And Barnstable has done that. We've had quite a few housing projects that have come up recently, and so it continues to allow us to be qualified for this. But the initial initiative, it was a comprehensive new effort to create 135,000 new housing units by 2025. And so these 67 communities have been right on target in terms of trying to continue to reach that goal by 2025, but helping the state reach that goal by 2025. So again, congratulations to the town manager and all those who have been helpful in pursuing this initiative and allowing us to take advantage again of the kinds of resources that come from Mass Health and Complete Streets. Mass Dot has money. Parks and land grants are available to us because of us participating in this housing choice program. So again, congratulations to Barnstable. I'll give the hand things, as President said. So thank you, Mark, for the presentation, and thank you for your efforts in your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Councilor Dagwan, for that. If I might ask Manager Els, I'm sorry. Am I not, if I don't want to jump the gun, but I know that the Infrastructure and Energy Committee is working on the green communities, and I think you're preparing a presentation on that. Will that come at a future date or on that?
Yeah, it is ongoing. We are seeking that designation. There's 5 major areas of it, and I know that Dave Anthony, with others from Cape Light Compact, and I think a couple of members of our infrastructure committee, we're having this discussion just last week with in moving forward with this. There's 5 major areas. We're moving forward with all of them. And so what I'd like to do is, at some future time, Council President, I would like to give an overview of how we're progressing and what we look to achieve from this. Certainly the designation will allow us, like many of these programs, that we are successful when we pursue in accessing additional funding. So we are actively moving toward that, and I would like to very much give you a presentation in August or certainly September. We'll be ready either.
Thank you very, very much, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? We can come back if our presentation from Director Santos sparks another question or is attachment, then certainly we'll get back to the town manager. Thank you very much. Director Santos, if you would please. Thank you very much for your patience.
Well, good evening, Mr. President, town councilors. This is the comprehensive wastewater management plan update for July. And so with regards to the MEPA process, as you may recall, we received our certificate from MEPA office back in March, and we have continued to coordinate with them. That certificate allows us to proceed with our project and lays out the particular conditions under which we may do so. And the primary requirement of the MEPA certificate is to submit an environmental impact report, which we are currently working on, and we anticipate finishing and submitting that in September or October. The Route 28 East project, wastewater project, this is really the linchpin of our expansion throughout Barnstable of the wastewater plan. And the contract for design has been awarded to Weston and Sampson. That design is underway. In fact, the kickoff meeting was held yesterday with the consulting engineer. The design should be completed in the spring of 2021 and in the fall of 2021, a little over a year from now, beginning construction. As a reminder, this project includes the Finney's Lane pump station, which will be located at the intersection of Finney's Lane and Route 28, force main back to the water pollution control facility, as well as gravity sewer on Route 28 from Strawberry Hill Road to Finney's Lane, and on Finney's Lane from Woquocket Lane to Route 28. So this is a very significant project. It's the first one out of the gate, really, and we are anxious to get moving on that, as I'm sure you all are. Another thing we've started recently is surveying for a number of our projects. Very significant effort has to be put forth in this regard. On wastewater projects, we have to not only know, boundaries and the extent of the ground surface, but we have to know elevations as well. So the Long Pond Sewer expansion, we've let a contract for the survey for that project. We've let a contract for the survey for the Finney's Lane Sewer expansion project. And we have also let a survey contract for the Route 28 Centerville and Marston's Mills project, which goes from Finney's Lane all the way down to Route 149. Property owners in the project area will be notified via mail in the coming weeks regarding the need for survey crews to be in the neighborhood or access their properties. In some cases where they have wetlands present, we will need to get on the property and flag those wetlands to make sure that we're complying with the Wetlands Protection Act through the Conservation Commission. We anticipate that our surveys will be complete in the first quarter of calendar year 21. And our DPW design teams will be using these surveys to prepare the preliminary designs that we are doing in-house, which will then go through the public involvement process that we've talked about in the past. And then they'll be turned over to consultants for the final design for construction documents. As the manager mentioned, we continue coordination for the design with Vineyard Wind on the Strawberry Hill Road project. We've done subsurface utility location work there. That was completed in June, and the design is being currently modified based on the results of those findings. And they are targeting, and we'll hear more about this in just a little bit, spring construction. We have completed the construction of the sewer extension on Kids Hill Road, Merchants Way, and Business Drive in the industrial park, except for the final paving, but the sewer work has been done. This project was funded by a Mass Works grant. By the way, that grant also included sidewalks, which they were doing the paving of today in Independence Park, sidewalks that will go from Mary Dunn Road all the way to Route 132 along Independence Drive. Our annual estuary monitoring sampling work is underway. And we have continued our in-house preliminary design of our phase 1 projects. Other projects of note that aren't necessarily sewer expansion, the Rendezvous Lane Pump Station in Barnstable Village replacement project is currently out to bid. We anticipate starting construction on that this fall to be completed in the spring. What that does primarily is upgrades that pump station and gets it out of the zone where it frequently floods when we have high tides and nor'easters. We have received a design report for our solids handling facility at the wastewater pollution control facility. And that's about an $8 million upgrade to the facility, which would be very important, particularly in the future with our expansion. And we are working with the state revolving fund program to get attractive interest rate funding for that project. Regarding JBCC, as you know, we submitted a proposal along with Converge back in last September, and there's been a number of delays in the government, particularly around the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are still awaiting the Air Force decision on that. The last meeting that I had with the Air Force was in March, just before things kind of shut down. And I know the federal government, much of which has not been in the office, and I'm not sure how much of a priority this is for them, but we have also been in the process of drafting a letter to go to the Air Force to encourage them to make a decision so that we can put this into our planning, we can protect the groundwater for the Upper Cape, and address the wastewater and water supply needs for not only Barnstable, but for the Upper Cape communities. So that concludes my update for July, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
If I might add to that.
Yes, please.
I think a critical component of this, outside of what Stan's already described to you all, is for us to begin the discussions that we have scheduled with our town council relevant to fiscal policy initially, and then secondarily fiscal policy related to wastewater and water. There are many decisions that still need to be made. We had committed to commencing this as soon as we completed our operating budget. We've done that, and so I hope that we will commence that in the first quarter of FY 2021. I know I've discussed this with our leadership, and they are certainly supportive and recognize the need for this. But I think we need to move through these issues of fiscal policy before we get into the physical construction of sewers that will result in betterments to specific properties along that route. This needs to be crystal clear for our residents so that we can share that information and they know what to expect. So I know that we will move forward with that, but this is just a reminder statement that we had committed to do that and we need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Mark. May I ask Director Santos if you could send a copy of your report to our administrator, to Cindy, to have that sent out to all of the councilors? We would appreciate that if you could.
Gladly, I'll do that first thing in the morning.
I would greatly appreciate that. And I today put out a report, President's report, of all the pieces and the components. And as we work towards this and all the pieces that come together, I put that out today. So fair is fair. I will send you a copy of that report to you. Okay. Thank you very much. Councilor Biedenbender has a question.
Thank you. Director Santos, I have like 3 questions, I think. Just out of curiosity, so the Strawberry Hill Pocket Lane Finney's piece, the construction begins in November of 21, we hope. When will residents around the lake start, when do we anticipate they will start to be able to hook up to that main line? And then I also have a similar question as to when do we think the main line is going to head down Centerville Main Street? And then I just wanted to touch base on the pump station on Main Street as to the status of that, where that sits right now. Thanks.
Okay, the regarding residents hooking up, frankly, that's a number of years off. We have to start the construction. We have to do that construction, which is going to take probably a year and a half or so. We have looked at the ability of residents along that route being able to hook up sooner than later, but we have to design, appropriate money, and fund projects to get into the neighborhoods. So I don't have a date right now, but there's a process that will bring us to that point. But it's going to take a number of years to do that. With regards to the when they'll be on Main Street Centerville, that's going to be probably within a year of this spring of 21. Within a year of that, we'll have that line there. And then on the pump station, the status of that is we are still looking at some of the requirements for locating the pump station in Mother's Park. It looks as if we can, after doing some design work, that we can actually get the pump station in Mother's Park Road rather than in the park, and we haven't totally completed this analysis, but we're most of the way there, that we can, again, get the pump station in the road, not in the park, which will eliminate the need to have to go through the whole legislative process and the Chapter 97 issues. So I think that's good news.
Great. Any other councilors? Councilor Starr, please.
Mr. Santos, I'm wondering do you have any update on the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition project at Truebell's Pond? Have they moved forward with that at all?
We have submitted a grant along with them, and we have not heard back on that grant yet.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Levesque, please.
Thank you, Jan, for the presentation. I wanted to thank you for the presentation, but I figured while we have you, I also wanted to thank you for communicating that the portable classrooms, the Marstonville's elementary school, have been taken down. So I appreciate you letting me know on that, and appreciate you taking care of that. Thank you. To your staff too.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very, very much. Any more questions for our town manager or Director Santos? If not, we thank you both for wonderful reports and presentations. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, councilors, we've been over 2 hours working hard here. So what I'd like to do is just move on the act on the minutes, and then I'd like us to take a 5-minute break. And so everybody can refresh themselves. It's been very interesting to see people stretching. I'm seeing yoga moves. I'm seeing all kind of stuff. So I think we could just take a little 5-minute break. It'd be really great. So at this point, I would ask Madam Vice President to please act on the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we vote to accept the minutes of June 25th, 2020 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. So this is a vote to accept and to approve the minutes. And I would ask our clerk to please take roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselors Bender,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rep Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
That's 12 yes, thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So in the military, we always synchronized our watches. I don't know why we did, but we did. And so it's 9:06 by my phone here. So let's try to be back by 9:12. And that means that we'll most probably see each other by 9:15. Thank you very much. Take a break. Sarah, we're taking a break. Thank you so much. Sarah?
You're all set. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I don't think we need to have a roll call. I think we're all back. Madam Clerk, do we need to do a roll call? I don't think so, huh? No. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So now, councilors, we're going to go into communications from elected officials, boards, committees, staff commission, reports, correspondence, and announcements. The floor is open. Councilor Levesque, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted some kind of good news, bad news. I'll give the bad news first. Unfortunately, Village Day for Marston's Mills has been canceled for this year due to the COVID pandemic, and I think that's obviously understandable. Disappointing, but understandable. And hopefully we can still squeeze in our ham and bean supper up the first of the year to keep the scholarship program going for our Barnstable seniors, which we gave $4,000 scholarships for this past year. Also, good news though, on a couple of things. The portable classrooms, which I mentioned earlier, have been removed from the Marston's Mills Elementary School. So that's great news. Again, thank you to the DPW and Dan Santos' direction, and of course, Town Manager Mark Ells for initiating that. And the other thing is that Burgess House, Burgess Park, is the beautification process is underway and has been underway for some time, and it continues to be just, again, more and more beautiful every time I drive by. Walkways, flowers planted by the Village Association President Donna Lawson, and it's just such a beautiful place. The disc golf is open and running, very popular, and I know they're working hard to socially distance and make that as safe as possible while they entertain themselves with the disc golf. So I just wanted to kudos to everybody that's involved, again, DPW, Chris Canella and his crew for all the good work they're doing over at Burgess Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Levesque. Any other councilors? Councilor Snett, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask our town clerk about this application that I just got in the mail today for a vote by mail. I'm not sure if I send this in and get an application, if I have to vote by mail, or if I still have my options open to me, or what's going on with our elections.
Councilors, I'm glad you asked. The vote by mail did go out by the state after the legislation change just recently. You need to fill that out and sign it. Without your signature, I cannot do anything. So the signature has to be on there. And that is an application for an early voting ballot. Now, what they've done is they've made early voting and absentee balloting pretty much the same thing this time around. We have many people who have already requested absentee ballots, and we have them in the system, and they will be fulfilled and sent out. So they're all set. They can always check with us, but they are all set. If you are a voter in Barnstable and you're worried about whether you're a voter in Barnstable or not, you can always call us or go onto our website, the Town of Barnstable website, the town clerk's page, and under election information, there is a link that takes you right to the voter registration information as it's kept at the State House level. So you can check yourself there. We will be doing early voting in person. And there's a team of people working right now on trying to make that happen for the town of Barnstable. We're looking for a centrally located place to do it that is ADA compliant. We'll have people working there with sanitizing the stations and keeping everything clean. We will have a lockbox at the on the top step, I think, of Town Hall, for all of those people who do choose to vote by mail. So they don't have to mail it back. They can actually drop it in a secure lockbox. We'll be collecting them all day long and inputting that information into our computers. We will be open for voting in all our precincts on September the 1st. We are working diligently to have enough people working at the polls to make this happen. So I'm always looking for poll workers who are willing to come out and spend a day helping others with the voting situation. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, but it's, if you would like to vote by mail or you would like to vote in person, you have all the options there. You can vote on election day. You can vote early the week before the election. It starts on Saturday, the 22nd of August, and it runs through the 28th of August as an early voting location. We will be working 7 days to get that done for everybody. And then the election is on September the 1st. We will have, we'll try to make that as secure as we possibly can for the poll workers as well as for the public. So call us if you have questions. We'll be happy to tell you anything we can tell you.
Okay. And that location for early voting is to be determined.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you very much for that question, Councilor Snett, and thank you for that report, Madam Clerk. So we will know by our next meeting in August, which will be on the 20th, we'll be able to report out to the public about both the early voting and any other arrangements that you have, huh?
Yes, yes, President Hebert. Not only that, we'll have the communications will be going out as soon as we have everything cast in concrete.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. I would like to talk a few moments on how we will do business in the future. I was talking to at our leadership meeting with Town Manager Els, and I had brought up the issue of, do we think that August, September, October, we might go back to having a meeting all together, practicing social distancing and you know, everything we can to prevent any spread of the virus. And our town manager very wisely pointed out that we really don't want to take any chances. We have to look at what our future is going to look like in order to keep running town government safely. We don't want any spread of the virus. We don't want to go back into a closed down situation. Massachusetts has been doing very well, and I think is a leader, an example of leadership within the country. But we could lose that very quickly if we get sloppy. So how does it affect us as councilors? I think, you know, the public is made it clear that they would like to get back together again, but we have to practice safety first. So my advice to the public is to stay close to your counselor, to communicate well with your counselor. We can get a lot done on the telephone. It's not the same thing as being together. And if you can, with some of your constituents, run a Zoom meeting. I'll also continue to talk to town manager. My communication at home, my computer, and my network just cannot sustain the Zoom meetings. That's why I'm at town hall tonight. But I would be willing to come back in if we need to do conversations with a number of our constituents. Anything that we can do to facilitate your communication between your citizens and their counselor, we're willing to do. We'll work together to make it the best that we possibly can. I was talking with my physician at my annual physical, and he was very, very concerned about the stress of the COVID on your health and my health. The stress can cause physical harm to you, as well as causing depression. And we're hearing of more and more cases that the stress and the depression is bad for our health. So please, this is a personal appeal to all of you to watch yourselves and your loved ones, and anyone you come in contact with. If you see that somebody is really suffering with that, we have to really, because we care, to say to one another, you need to maybe see a professional or get whatever assistance you need, rather than just assume that everybody's going to be okay. It's a serious situation, so please be aware. Thank you. Councilor Biedenbender, please.
Thank you. I just want to mention that the Community Preservation Committee is holding its annual meeting on, I believe it's Monday, whatever July 20th is. It's next week, from 5:30 to 6:30. They'll be reviewing both their objectives and goals for FY21. So the annual meeting, July 20th, CPC.
Thank you very much. Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, the flip side of Mr. Levesque's bad news is that, to the best of my knowledge, the Osterville Village Day is still going forward on Saturday, the 18th. So fingers crossed and social distance, everybody. Secondly, as I think has been reported previously, Armstrong Kelly Park, which is the jewel right in the center of Osterville, the piece of serenity in the mass of humanity, is being acquired by the trustees of reservation. They are currently in the process of rolling out their announcements. They had started taking video clips on earlier this week. I was fortunate to be asked to participate in that. And they are having listening sessions for anyone that wants to come see their conceptual plan going forward. I know there's one tomorrow and one, I think, the 24th. From 5 to 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Bogan, and that is very, very good news. The trustees of reservation has a wonderful reputation, and this will really help that area. It is a beautiful, special spot, and that is very, very good news. Thank you.
And I did, during the video clip the other day, take it as an opportunity to thank them on your behalf and welcome them on your behalf.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Any other councilors for communication? Seeing none, we'll close communications, and we're going to move on to orders of the day, if we could. So our first item is item number 2020-189, and I'm going to ask.
Point of order, Mr. President. We do have a workshop on the status of Vineyard Wind.
Thank you very
project.
much. Thank you very much. I forgot that, so thank you. I don't think Vineyard Wind would have waited much longer to say something's wrong here. So thank you very much. So if the folks from Vineyard Wind would come on screen and open up, that'd be great.
As they join us, I'd just like to make a couple of opening comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Ellis, Town Manager. This is a workshop on the status of the Vineyard Wind Phase 1 project. Rachel and Nate will be sharing with us both Phase 1 and Phase 2 status. We are actively working so that they can commence Phase 1. There are a couple of steps still left where the town council will need to participate. I know Attorney McLaughlin is out there as well. If we want to get into any of the detail, as well as Town Attorney Nover. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Rachel and Nate and welcome them, and I'll look forward to their presentation.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay,
we can.
Great.
You look like you're in daylight someplace here, enjoying yourself.
Yeah, well, I've not to burden you with my background. I decided to put Long Point up, which is actually just a stone's throw away. But
very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. It's good to see everyone again. This is only the second virtual meeting we've taken part in, but one of many meetings we've had over the last couple of years. I've got a few members of the team here. Rachel, as mentioned, our Chief Development Officer, formerly our VP of Permitting, which may be how you'd met her in her past and current life. Chris Rodstrom and Jack Aruda as well, leading the technical operations and the onshore works for Vineyard Wind 1 and Vineyard Wind 2, respectively. Chris will be giving you maybe a similar rundown from the May meeting, but also a greater opportunity that we really are glad to be here for taking your questions and having whatever kind of conversation is warranted. And Jack as well. I will hand it to Rachel to say a couple of things, but it's good to be here.
Hi everyone. As Nate mentioned, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
As Nate mentioned, I'm Rachel Pachter. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Vineyard Wind. I think some folks, I know there's been some turnover in the group, but I think some folks worked with my predecessor, Eric Stevens, when the host community agreement came together. And I was really honored to take his position. After he left, I started back in January. And I know that he had done some really great work with this group. We've had a long-standing relationship with the town of Barnstable that we appreciate greatly. There's been a lot of hard work on the part of many folks here at the town, on the council to build this relationship. So I just wanted to introduce myself, make myself available to counselors as we go forward. I know this is a long-term relationship, as we move into several phases of the project and starting construction, and as we get into those phases, you will certainly meet, many more members of the team. And so we really want to make sure there's the right amount of dialogue with folks to ensure that, we're being responsible partners in the town. It's been great so far. I think it's, I was in the May meeting for a little while, so I did get to listen in on that. And, we're really grateful. We can't do our jobs if our partners are not also working during COVID. So I know it's been difficult for everybody, but it's really been great that everybody's been able to keep doing that. I know there was Director Santos talked a little bit earlier about the sewer project. I'll just reiterate that, our engineering team, Jack is with us, and he's going to be out there, the one digging the roads himself, one of these days, hopefully soon. He's made himself, available, and I think they've been working quite well to get ready for this. So we're excited to have the sewer partnership. And I'll let Nate kind of get into the meat of things, but I just wanted to make sure I introduce myself. And really, never hesitate to reach out with questions or anything we can do to give more information or give us some ideas on better outreach or, things that would be useful for the partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and for introducing yourself. And what is the picture behind you? Where is that?
It is, it's a little island actually in New Bedford,
Very nice.
Just near the hurricane barrier.
Oh, okay, great. Very nice. Thanks, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try and share my screen here and bring up PowerPoint. Let me make sure this works. All right, is everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Looks good. Yes, looks good.
Great.
Thanks.
So I've shortened some of the elements and the fundamentals of Vineyard Wind 1. I think many folks on this board, even some of the newer members, have seen it quite a few times. We've been in the community a lot, understanding this is a public forum. It's always important to go through a couple of those details, but I'll do that quick, especially respecting the long hour. Vineyard Wind 1, first in the nation, large-scale offshore wind facility. We'll be powering 400,000 homes under a Massachusetts procurement. This is 35 miles south of Cape Cod with an interconnection in Barnstable. Far removed, of course, from the previous Cape Wind project. What we're here for is the discussion of 1.6 million tons of CO2 offset per year. And then there's additional emissions reductions, the nitrogen and sulfur oxides that cause, more importantly, public health concerns as well as climate issues. There is a great deal to be said about the jobs and infrastructure investments, and of course, investments to the natural environment in the form of survey and innovations that has come from both Vineyard Wind and other partners. And the new chapter of this, of course, as many of you know, is that this ends up being a cost saver and a good deal for ratepayers. Of the $3.6 billion in energy savings anticipated from Vineyard Wind 1 alone, $1.4 billion, as estimated by DOER, is expected to be direct on-bill savings against the business as usual scenario. So there are a lot of community, environmental, and fisheries, other infrastructure agreements, active work with project labor agreements of organized labor. But we're here in part because of one of the most important and I think most remarkable agreements that Vineyard Wind or any offshore wind developer has ever gotten to, and that's the host community agreement with the town. So I did want to go into a couple of those details to rehash, because it's now been, I think, since October of 2018. I'm right on that date that the council first ratified that. Earliest concerns, the town, of course, and the developer, had a lot to talk about at the beginning, especially in the wake of Cape Wind. First stipulations were no development in Nantucket Sound, nothing to facilitate a Cape Wind 2. Second, concerns about the fact that we on Cape Cod live on top of our water supply in the sole source aquifer. Extensive work on substation design, consultation, and standards that we're proud of, and I think will be standard setting for the region. There are specific provisions, emergency response, and some other protections for the town throughout the agreement to eliminate the potential for greater town exposure of resources, although there are significant revenue implications for the town. Seasonal restrictions, clearly somewhat non-negotiable. So no summer construction. The roadways and parking lots will be fully available throughout the summer season in any phase of our work. And there's extremely close coordination with the town on construction schedules. And that's separate, or now I suppose conjoined with all this collaboration that's been done by the technical teams of both the town and Vineyard Wind on the sewer construction project. There is a full repaving stipulations and work on the Cobbles Beach parking lot, as well as reconstruction of a bathhouse. Specific specs on how that roadway reconstruction is done, and like new reconstruction of any disrupted areas. As part of that, the town has become a partner in this, and has not only agreed to help work through the process to retain the appropriate rights, also has provided support through the various permitting processes, which has been helpful in terms of town staff offering formal support on behalf of the town to state agencies, for example. There was this Article 97 land disposition that was part of the host community agreement, which is conservation and recreation land achieves a special consideration, despite the fact that Vineyard Wind's use of the beach and parking lot area involves a deeply buried subsurface cable, and therefore it's a subsurface easement. We did need to achieve state legislation as petitioned by the town and this council, and that was ratified typically at the last couple of days of formal session in 2019. There's broad stipulations in the spirit of facilitation of permitting for this project, which is both in the interest of the town and, of course, the Vineyard Wind and the environment in the region. And then finally, one important item is indemnification and protection from the town for any legal challenges to any features of this, that would be borne by Vineyard Wind rather than the town legal staff or needing to seek outside counsel. The host community payments were clearly a major part of this, and with Vineyard Wind 1, there's a $16 million supplemental payment to come over time, in addition to substantial property tax, both at the municipal level and in the fire districts. That 16 million is over the top of those. And as we discussed the phase two, the host community agreement does have an agreement on the same level of funding for the similar project, which Chris is going to reiterate, which you guys have heard a little bit about in the previous meeting. So a couple of outstanding items that remain. We do need to get easement rights for that roadway, and this is the roadway from Covell's Beach all the way up to Independence Drive. You've seen this run. It's Craigville Beach Road, Strawberry Hill, Wequaquet Lane, Finney's across 132 to Addicks and into Independence Park. There are additional rights needed in certain portions of Independence Drive, and we've in working with the town. There's a preferred alternative to obtain those rights via a friendly taking of those portions of the roadway. It should be noted that that other portions of Independence Drive were acquired a couple of decades ago, and there was no and there's not anticipated to be any assessment of damages for the taking of those rights. The sewer collaboration project is part of this the timeline here, and it's very important. I know the town staff has indicated that this fall is there is a need to shore up and finalize the plan both on Vineyard Wind side with our project and on the town with respect to sewer. And due to some of the timelines for processing and executing a taking, there is there are various windows. There's a 30-day window at the end, so the timeline is a bit compressed ahead of that. There are also outstanding permits at the administrative level, which are customary for any development project of any size. And so the company, Jack and Chris and myself will be obtaining those road opening permits and building and that kind of thing in the normal course of work. There was another issue that came about Finney's Lane. There's it's one of the quirks of deeds. It was surrendered to the town along with many other roads by Barnstable County many years ago, and the town and the county both concur that this is a town road. But to ensure that the deeds are clear and clean, there is a need for the town council to make a petition to the county to reaffirm that. And then reaffirm its discontinuation of ownership. This is, we all suspect, and we've talked with town about this, maybe a paperwork issue that could be 20 or 30 years old, whereby that document wasn't affirmed. So it's sort of an administrative task, but again, requires some of these formal steps. And that is sort of a prerequisite for the town being able to issue with confidence those rights, clarifying that the county doesn't own those. Now, the county, of course, doesn't own any roads, so it's somewhat of a non-issue from a policy perspective. I am going to give it over to Chris right now to talk about some of the Park City Wind elements. It'd be a bit of a rehashing, but I think we've tried to make it concise. And Chris, if you can turn yourself on and get going, I will manage your slides.
Great. Thanks, Nate, and good evening. Yeah, and we have had some things that I'll update you on since we last talked to the council here. But it is a pleasure here to give you a quick update on how the second project stands right now. I work on the technical design and permitting for the Vineyard Wind Connector 2 project, which includes all of the grid interconnection components of the Park City Wind project. This project was selected in December of 2019 by Connecticut to provide 800 megawatts of renewable offshore wind power to ISO New England through an interconnection in West Barnstable. Now, you'll see that many aspects of the Vineyard Wind Connector 2 project are similar to the first Vineyard Wind project, from the overall concept, design, size, and underlying assumptions that guided our experience working with the town of Barnstable staff and the community, as well as regulators on the first project. This is a similarly sized 800 megawatt project to the first Vineyard Wind project. It originates in the same 501 lease area, south of Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. And on this slide in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see the 501 offshore wind lease area in green, with the Vineyard Wind Connector 2 wind turbines located in the area shown in the yellow hatch. Going from that area ashore, it follows largely the same offshore cable corridor as the first project shown here in blue, going through federal and state waters and connecting the turbines to the shore and cable landfall in Barnstable. And as to the timeline of the project, we have filed our first state permits in May and June with the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, MEPA office, and the Massachusetts Energy Facility Siting Board. We expect to complete permitting and start construction sometime in 2023. I'd like to note that both the MEPA and EFSB processes include public notices and opportunities for public comment, including the MEPA environmental notification form comment period, which is now open, and the EFSB or siting board hearings that will be scheduled soon by the siting board. So Nate, if you'd like to go to the next slide. This slide includes both Vineyard Wind projects, the stage 1 project on the right in blue that Nate was describing, and the second stage Vineyard Wind Connector 2 project on the left, shown in yellow. And the permitting process for the Vineyard Wind Connector 2 project, which is just starting, includes proposed preferred and alternative cable landings and routes interconnecting to the grid. The solid line is the proposed route that we're putting forth, and the dashed lines shown in the map on the left, the dashed yellow lines, are those alternatives. Ultimately, only one route will be permitted and installed, much like the Vineyard Wind 1 project, so there'll be one single underground transmission cable bringing the offshore wind power ashore and interconnecting to the Eversource substation. And all transmission cables will be buried underground, either below roads or some small sections of transmission right-of-ways. Moving up towards the interconnection point, Vineyard Wind's substation is proposed at 8 Chute Flying Hill Road, where there's an existing motel, which will be replaced with equipment to receive the offshore wind power and then transmit it to the grid. We are tying into the Eversource substation off Oak Street, which will be upgraded by Eversource to allow the interconnection to happen. So Nate, if you want to just skip to the next, I'll just focus on a few of those key elements here, starting from the bottom of the slide in the landfall and heading up to the interconnection point. The proposed onshore route, bringing the offshore wind power to the grid interconnection point in West Barnstable, it's been designed to minimize impacts to the environment and the community. Starting at the landfall, the horizontal directional drill method that we're using at Craigville Beach is very similar, almost identical to the design for the first Vineyard Wind project at Covell's Beach. And we are including Covell's Beach as our alternative landfall. All the underground transmission in duct banks is largely in roads and existing transmission right-of-ways. And we've been talking with the town, as been mentioned earlier, about coordinating this work and scheduling it to be in sync with the planned sewer installation and upgrades through this section of town to minimize cost and disruption and accomplish both the renewable energy and sewer and associated environmental benefits from sewering. After coming ashore at the beach, the crossing at the Centerville River is proposed to use a micro-tunnel method that goes under the river bottom and to the side of the existing bridge, limiting traffic mitigation during the installation. We've evaluated multiple crossing methods, and we consider this to be the least disruptive and the best alternative. Going up to the substation at 8 Chute Flying Hill Road, that location is near the Eversource substation and is been designed to minimize the footprint and minimize impacts in that area. And the crossing under Route 6, which is the final point before we interconnect at the Eversource substation, uses a similar microtunnel approach that we used getting under the Centerville River to get underneath Route 6. So there won't be any road closures of Route 6. And the greatest amount of the work to get under Route 6 will actually be originating from the north side of Route 6 and will come underneath the highway over near Service Road. So I think with that, I'll turn it back over, I think, to Nate and to talk about our outreach work. Thank you.
Okay. I did want to give a couple of quick updates. It's been a pretty busy couple of months. And I can start in the upper right here. This supplemental environmental impact statement, which some of you maybe have been familiar with, was issued by BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, in June. That was the so-called pause that was put on the project in offshore wind in August. It sought to look at a cumulative impacts analysis, looking at a broader build out, maybe a 10-year build out of offshore wind on the East Coast. So it wasn't, it was more focused on that cumulative analysis, but did reaffirm both for Vineyard Wind 1 and for the build out, mostly negligible, minor or moderate impacts. So that was released June 12th. We had virtual public meetings that BOEM hosted throughout a couple of weeks in late June, early July. And the comment period does remain open until July 27th on that supplemental environmental impact statement. The comments during the virtual hearings were overwhelmingly positive. There was a range of interests, including education, of course, climate and environment advocates, as well as economic development, and a lot of local residents from Barnstable and the Cape who spoke up in favor of the project. So it was a positive. It's positive in that sense. It was also positive to see that BOEM has been able to stay the course in light of the challenges that we're facing with COVID, that this was issued on time. And that gives us a certain measure of optimism with respect to the November final EIS and December record of decision timing. Chris had mentioned state filings for Vineyard Wind Connector 2. I heard Dan Santos mention the word MEPA, which may be an acronym that I can use with you folks without stretching it out, but that's the state environmental review. And that preliminary filing triggered a comment period which ends July 28th on the initial initial proposal. There are several comment periods throughout the MEPA and Energy Facility Siting Board processes, 4 or 5, if I can remember correctly. And there's public notice associated with a lot of that, and as well as a bunch of public outreach that we continue. So the permitting process for number 2, as Chris mentioned, it's expected to continue through 2020 and into 2021 at the state level. And then local and regional permits, just as with Vineyard Wind 1, will be pursued shortly thereafter. The state review by regulation precedes the pursuance of Cape Cod Commission or local permits. We're beginning the federal process for Park City Wind with the preliminary filing of the construction operations plan, which is sort of the core document. That undergoes several weeks or months of completeness review. And then as that is processed, made public, then that triggers a similar review process that Vineyard Wind 1 went through, an EIS evaluation, environmental impact evaluation done by the federal government over the better part of a year at least. So we do expect final federal approval in advance of our 2023 construction. We mentioned it before, and I know I've talked with a number of you of counselors about it. We've been forced to adapt like everyone and have started our virtual information sessions in full stride. It feels like a long time ago when we were on Covell's Beach talking to residents there about the project. And or in Centerville Library or various other locales, including Town Hall. They've gone well. We held one just last night. We had sent a mailing out to the stage 2, both primary and secondary routes, several thousand letters, I believe, in order to both give some preliminary information, give our information to residents in their mailbox, as well as notify them of these public information sessions. So we're going to continue to do those on a regular basis. We've had a good dialogue thus far, and we expect to continue to do so. I will put the plug in. We implore anyone listening, as well as counselors, to continue to send people our way, especially neighborhood groups, civic groups. I've met with a number of the groups that represent various constituencies in your districts. We've all had a good experience doing that, getting insights, and also describing some of the complexities of a really new and challenging project, at least for here. If it were Western Europe, we might be thinking a little bit different about the newness. So that's going to continue. And to echo what Rachel said, we have and will continue to welcome your comments and thoughts about the project, as well as about opportunities that we can better reach the public. We are constantly adapting, as I'm sure you are, and we will continue to sort of work together on doing that. I will give you the final slide here, and just a polite plug. We, as I said yesterday, was our most recent virtual Q&A and info session. We've got one scheduled for August as well as September, and we've got a number of community group meetings throughout, which offer sort of sometimes a better inroad, with a smaller group that we may sort of get a little bit more attention through those venues. So thank you. I think we welcome your questions. I guess I'll hand it over to Mr. President and/or Town Manager.
Okay, thank you very much. Could we bring all the council back? Good, thank you very much. Super. So we're going to open it up for any questions that councilors might have of Nate, of Rachel, Jack, or Chris. Councilor Clark, please.
Thank you very much, Council President Hebert. And thank you for that concise, meaningful presentation. I have two concerns from residents in my area, and I'm not sure if this would be, if it's the jurisdiction of Vineyard Wind or if it's an Eversource issue. But one is for the optics off of the substation in West Barnstable off of Oak Street, and that it's very industrial looking. I don't know if any landscaping could come to this project to soften the look from the street. And secondly is there's some concerns about any consequences to the West Barnstable Fire District or Fire Department. I had some serious concerns from a resident in the neighborhood of that substation where downed wire came down and melted the pavement to glass. And I asked the fire chief, and he said he's had more responses there already. But I'm just saying that it may provide or may evolve some consequences to the fire district and not necessarily the town of Barnstable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. Who would like to respond to that?
I would tap Chris for some of the details on that regarding the substation.
I'd be glad to. And Councilor Clark, we did listen to the Eversource public hearing where I think that issue was described about the down power line. So it sounded like quite a serious matter and concern. A couple of things to note about the Vineyard Wind project, I think, that's relevant and important. First of all, as I mentioned, the entire length of the electrical interconnection of the offshore wind farm into the grid at the West Barnstable substation will be underground duct bank. So, so that the only thing visible as part of the transmission was will be just a manhole every 1,500 feet or so to access that underground transmission line. So the same issue that happened with that down power line and I guess there was a fire resulting won't be an issue with an underground transmission line. So I think that's one. And as far as the interconnection at the Eversource substation, we definitely heard loud and clear on that Eversource hearing about the concerns of the community and neighbors. One property that it abuts that Eversource substation immediately east. It's a small 2.8 acre property. It was actually purchased by Vineyard Wind recently, and that gives us a little more latitude and flexibility in bringing a cable underground underneath Route 6 immediately to the east of the Eversource substation in an area that's fairly well distanced away from residences as well as downhill from Route 6. So we think that gives us working on the connection of the power line to the Eversource substation, and also working with Eversource on the configuration of the station so that our line will tie in, a lot more flexibility in coming up with the optimal design that has the least impact. So we've had a long conversation with Eversource about the interconnection process. Jack Arute has been leading that. We know them very well from the first project, and I think the combination of the underground transmission, the property we've acquired to give us some flexibility, and that working with Eversource on the design to minimize and mitigate impact to that area are certainly big parts of the way we're approaching the design.
Thank you.
I'd also add, in terms of emergency response costs, obviously that's only part of the issue of emergency response. Although there's not anticipated to be a greater burden, I might have glossed over this in my presentation, not anticipated to be a significantly greater burden on public safety resources. A stipulation in there was that Vineyard Wind would pay the costs of any emergency response that was borne, by town staff or town emergency services.
Thank you.
If I may,
yes.
I just wanted to thank you very much, Council President. I just want to make the distinction that the West Barnstable Fire Department, or the town of Barnstable, has 5 fire departments, 5 fire districts, and it's different from the town of Barnstable. So it's a separate municipal entity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. Thank you very much. Councilor Starr, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. I had one quick question about, I know in the Independence Park where the transmission station is, you're gonna make Eversource is gonna redesign their containment engineering. And are you gonna do this? Are they gonna do the same thing in West Barnstable?
That's a good question, and it's unfortunately, although I've heard that, I think what you're referring to is that these enhanced containment features that we've worked on the town with for our substation, which will be adjacent to the Independence Park station, that there was some discussion, and perhaps town staff could fill you in on whether there's been a commitment there to upgrade some of the containment features of the existing substations. Not only Independence Park, not only West Barnstable, perhaps others. I don't want to speak for Eversource, and I do know that that's been a priority of the town, especially some of the town staff. It's a lot of the reason why we had such a lengthy discussion, but it would be for them to address. We do hope that those containment features are standard setting for other facilities, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Attorney McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. To answer Mr. Starr's question, yes, we've initiated preliminary discussions with Eversource on that, and I suspect that as we talk about mitigation related to this project in conjunction with work that Eversource contemplates, that there will be, as they have committed to retrofit in Independence Park, so too would we be seeking retrofit at Oak Street. So that is in the very embryonic stage right now, but we certainly are looking and have made it clear that we expect that will be a result of this undertaking.
Okay.
Thank you for that response. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. If I might ask, I've asked you this personally, Nate, but I'm going to ask it again. We are all aware that we're looking at Independence Park and the route up to the substation. And the question has come up, so I'm going to ask it publicly again. Is there an alternative route if we were not able to make arrangements through Independence Park on the roadway and the taking in one way, or hopefully a friendly taking? is there an alternate route that is feasible in phase one?
The short answer is no. I don't know if Rachel or Chris or Jack want to add anything to that, but this is the only best and only feasible route for us at this stage.
Yeah, and that's due to the fact that it's a fully permitted route. So I'll just add in that it's a fully permitted route that we have through the siting board and the remaining state agencies.
Oh, okay.
And local and Cape Cod Commission as well.
Thank you very much. That answers that question. Thank you. Any other council questions? Any comments from staff, attorneys on this? Town manager?
Yes, thank you. Mark Ellis, Town Manager. I just want to thank the Vineyard Wind team. They've worked hand in hand with us. They're very conscious of the challenges we have in doing construction in Barnstable and very attentive to our environmental concerns. And I expect that we'll continue to work with them for their completion of phase one and hopefully successfully through phase two. So thank you all for being here, and we will probably be back in not too far in the future to continue discussions about phase two and to complete any remaining tasks as we've outlined from phase one. So thank you.
Great. And I also want to thank the whole team from Vineyard Wind for your continual working with us, communicating with us, your care for our community, your openness, your transparency. You answer every single question that comes up. And so it's a pleasure working with you all. And thank you very much for coming to talk to us this evening.
Thank you very much for having us, Mr. President, and the council.
Great, super.
Means a lot. Thanks. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's,
thanks, everyone.
Well deserved. Yeah, we wave here. We wave. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will go into the orders of the day, and we're going to start with old business. I'm going to ask Councillor Steinhilber to please read in to the record minutes of the day, item number 2020-189. Please, Councillor Steinhilber.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing on item 2020-189, appropriation and loan order in the amount of $129,400 pursuant to temporary repairs program for certain private ways regarding Nice Neck Road, Centerville, Mass, as written.
Second.
We have a first and a second. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to ask from both Lynn and Sarah if we have any of the public in queue.
I have 2 members of the public on Zoom.
Thank you very much. So we'll begin with that, if we could.
Point of order, Mr. President, I think we need to just hear the rationale from Director Santos.
Thank you very much. To the public, thank you. Please remain on hold, and we're going to hear the rationale before we go into public comment. Thank you. Thank you for that correction, Madam Vice President.
Okay, thank you, Dan Santos, Director of Public Works. The successful passage of Chapter 174 of the Acts of 1994 and the passage of House Bills 4409 and 4410 by the state legislature of Home Rule legislation authorized the town to expend funds to repair private roads. Under this program, the abutters to roads being repaired can be charged betterment assessments for 100% of the actual cost of repairs, which they can elect to pay in one lump sum over a period of up to 20 years with interest. None of these roads will be taken by the town of Barnstable and will remain private roads. A majority of the property abutters to Nice Neck Road, Centerville, have expressed an interest in having repairs made to their private road, and 55% of the abutters have signed a consent and acknowledgement agreement for betterment assessment. The proposed work includes overlay of the existing roadway pavement and restoration along the route. Cost of the improvements is estimated at $129,400, with a cost per 20 abutters distributed as 20 full shares, not to exceed $6,470 per abutter. There is no cost to the town, as all costs will be covered by betterments assessed on the abutters. The town will issue a bond to cover the cost of the repairs and use the revenue collected from the betterment assessments to make the annual loan repayments on the bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Santos. Now, thank you. If Mrs. Menzin, would you like to speak first? Margaret?
Butters distributed as
I
20
think you might
full
want
shares,
Hope to speak
not to
first.
exceed $6,470 per.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Margaret, you could unmute yourself to speak. Okay, Hope, would you like to speak first, Mrs. Hirsch?
Unmute. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay. I live on Nyes Neck Road. It's a road that has been long neglected and is full of potholes and is treacherous to anyone using the road, whether in a car, in a bicycle, walking. And I learned about the Betterment Program through my contact with the Department of Public Works. I want to thank the Department of Public Works, Joe Tunde and the office staff. I want to thank Mark Ells, and I want to thank Eric Steinhilber for all their guidance along this process that's taken about a year. And I also want to urge the town council to pass this. We are not only a road that is a private road, but there are many people who walk and jog and bike on the road, and it is clearly very dangerous. So on that note, I urge you to pass this resolution, and I thank everyone for their help.
Thank you very much for staying with us and sharing your comments. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Menzin?
Yes.
We are not only a road
my
it's
when
a private
I want to
road,
corroborate.
Mrs. Menzin, can you please mute your TV?
It's not my TV. Sorry, it's the town meeting.
Bike on the road.
Could you mute it, please?
Yeah, let me turn it on.
So on that note, I urge you to pass this resolution. And
so I want to corroborate what Hope said. The road is full of potholes. When I walk on it with my husband, it's a constant watch the pothole, watch the hole, watch the hole. It's and it's also unsafe for kids who want to bike on it. So we really hope that this will be approved.
Thank you very, very much for, again, taking the time to be with us. I love both your positive feelings about this and that you care about the safety of everyone who uses the road. Congratulations on your citizen participation. Thank you. Do we have any other citizens, either by phone or by Zoom?
There's no more public comment via Zoom.
There's no public comment via phone.
Thank you very much. Any counselor? We're going to now close public hearing, and I'm going to ask counselors if they have any comments, questions.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd move that we vote on item 2020-189 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. So this is a vote on item number 2020-189 for approval of the item as written. Madam Clerk, please.
Counselors, Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Bagwan,
Yes.
Rapgrassetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Bender.
Yes.
That is 12 yes, it passes.
Thank you very much. I would now ask Councillor Steinhuber again to take on item 2020-191 to read it into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open a public hearing on item 2020-190, supplemental appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $212,700, the fiscal year 2020 Airport Enterprise Fund capital budget as written.
Second.
Have a first and a second. Thank you very much. So we have the rationale. I believe Katie Service will be doing that for us.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'll try to make this quick for you. The rationale for this particular item is to replace aircraft rescue and firefighting equipment. It's airport vehicle number 816 that we're trying to replace at the here. It was originally approved back in April of 2019 for $220,000. The vehicle and equipment that we put out to bid and the size of equipment that the FAA allows for our type of airport is no longer manufactured. This was unknown at the time that we circulated the bid. We went back out to bid with the FAA's approval to purchase the next higher level of vehicle for our facility. It's a larger vehicle and it has a larger water tank associated with it. The lowest responsive bidder came in at just over $306,000 for the vehicle, and then the associated tools and equipment for that vehicle, $82,000. The total amount for the vehicle is $432,700. The appropriation, it was short of $212,700. The project itself is reimbursable by the FAA at 100% reimbursable. That is all I have for rationale.
Thank you very much. We will now open it for a public hearing. Ask Lynn if you have anybody in queue.
No, Mr. President, no one on the phone for public hearing.
Thank you very much. Sarah, anyone in queue?
No one on Zoom.
Thank you very, very much. We'll close public hearing, and I will ask if any of our councilors have any questions, comments on this item. Councilor Starr, please.
I had one quick question. Is this bigger vehicle going to fit in your garage?
It will fit in our existing facility. Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we vote on item 2020-190 as presented.
Thank you. We have a first. We have a second.
Second.
Second. Thank you very much. We have a first and a second. Councilors, this is to approve, as written, item number 2020-190. And this is a roll call, majority vote. And Madam Clerk, please.
Councilors Clark?
Yes.
Dagwan?
Yes.
Rapgrassetti?
Yes.
Hebert?
Yes.
Levesque?
Yes.
Neary?
Yes.
Schnapp?
Yes.
Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Steinhilber?
Yes.
Bender?
Yes.
Bogan?
You're muted.
David?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
That's 12 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilors, this is item number 2020-192. This has to do with our SCRs. This is the general ordinance. And because of communications and because we don't have its code item with it, I would entertain a motion to open and continue agenda item 2020-192 as written to a public hearing to be held on August 20, 2020.
Second.
So moved.
So we have a first and a second. Thank you very much. So, councilors, this vote is to move item 2020-192 to open and continue that agenda item as written to the public hearing to be held on August 20, 2020. So I would ask Madam Clerk for a roll call on this item.
Counselors, Dagwan,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender.
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
That's 12 yes.
Thank you very much. And again, an item cannot be dropped by the president. It always waits the will of the council to move an agenda item for another date. So thank you very much. We will now go to item number, and I will ask Councilor Steinhilber again, if you please, to read into the record item number 2020-194.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing on item 2020-194, supplemental appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $277,600 for the fiscal year 2020 Airport Enterprise Fund capital budget as written.
Second.
So we have a first and a second. And we have the rationale. Again, Katie?
Sure, thank you. The purpose of this project is for the construction for mitigation of impacts that are associated with PFAS that is located in soil and groundwater. And it's associated with our use of firefighting foams, which have this PFAS component within the foam. The work proposed includes response actions to reduce infiltration of precipitation through that impacted soil, and it includes capping 2 source areas. This graphic that you have on your screen shows the 2 source areas. They're the areas that are surrounded by a dark blue box. They constitute just over 2.5 acres. In closer view, here is the location of one site that we have here. And this is the secondary site located next to the building that stores our firefighting foam and our vehicles that carry firefighting foam. The airport was approved originally for $250,000 for this construction project back in 2019. We had 2 appropriation orders that were approved, one for $100,000, the second one for $150,000. After 2 bids that went out for this project, the lowest responsive bidder on bid number 2 was $448,000. The reason why we had 2 bids, we originally put the first bid out. We had a very short construction season identified. For that particular bid, we received bids that were over $450,000. We modified our construction time period. We lengthened that time period, put it back out to bid, and we still received very high construction costs for that. The total project cost is $527,600. We are short in our appropriation by $277,600. This is coming 100% from airport reserves. So it's obviously, as you know, it's an important project for the town. It's an important project for drinking water. It's something that the airport wants to move on swiftly. We will also be including additional monies in our capital improvement plan for monitoring of the site after construction. That is all I have for rationale.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the, let me see, is that a public hearing? Yes, this is no, public hearing on this. Anyone? You? Yeah.
There's no public comment from the phone.
Thank you.
No public comment via Zoom.
Thank you very much. Any councilors, questions? Yes, Councilor Neary, please.
Thank you, as always, Katie, for your report. I'm just curious going forward, do you anticipate putting aside additional monies in the airport enterprise budget for future costs? I know these costs involved with the cleanup kind of they grow over time, and I'm just curious again going forward as you're approaching your budgetary plans, do you anticipate increasing the amount for possible mitigation going forward down the road?
Yes, at this point in time, for the next 3 years, I do have a line item within my capital plan for mitigation efforts associated with PFAS at the airport. So I do have those funds set aside.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Starr, please.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
I thought I had it. Okay. Thank you. So my question is, you're capping 2.5 acres. The PFAS is still there. So what is the next step after that?
Sure. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to bring in Brian Mesa, who works with Horsley Witten Group. They're our consultant that is helping us with this project. So Brian, if you could respond to Councilor Starr's question.
Sure. So this is kind of phase one in the cleanup that we're doing.
Yep.
The airport is capping a vast majority of what's there, of what we would call the actual source. And phase two on this is to finish the full delineation. And then phase three is to come up with a way to deal with the residual impacts that still remain. So residual impacts that remain, there's a number of different ways that the airport may deal with that. And it might be some injection, it might be a risk assessment, but we're going to determine that based on the effectiveness of this cap. So the airport has put aside funds to continue groundwater monitoring. And based on the results of the groundwater monitoring, we'll determine if any additional mitigation is needed.
Thank you, Brian.
So how far is the water below ground?
Approximately 20 to 25 feet.
Okay, and it would be headed to the Mar well across the street?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so may I also ask, so the grant, the money that you got from the federal government, that doesn't impact this at all? The recent celebration of the funds, that doesn't impact this at all?
So this was one of the projects that we talked to the FAA about in regards to using our CARES Act monies for this type of project. Unfortunately, we had already proceeded forward with bid specifications and some other items that don't necessarily meet FAA's criteria for procurement of a project like this. Also, because it is an environmental project, even though the firefighting foam that we're using is the only approved FAA firefighting foam for use at airports, they don't typically provide funding or grant funding for environmental cleanup. That's typically borne on the airport or the local region. So even though I'm not going after CARES Act money for this particular project, I am using CARES Act money to pay for other items within my budget, such as my utility bills and salaries for the airport. I've anticipated about $3.3 million to use within fiscal year 2021 of CARES Act money. So what is not used in my budget that was approved will go back to my reserve. So in essence, some fashion, this project will be paid for through CARES Act money.
Great, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other counselors? Questions for Katie or for Brian?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I make a motion that we vote on item 2020-194 as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Thank you very much. Counselors, this is a vote to approve as written, item number 2020-194. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Counselors, Grassetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan.
Yes.
12 yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks.
Councilor Starr, did you have a comment?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. I would ask that Madam Vice President read into the record of the evening, item number 2021-001, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is new business, our first item for fiscal year 2021. Item 2021-001, resolve allowing Mark S. Ells, town manager, to continue teaching at Cape Cod Community College under Section 8 of the town manager contract, as written.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Of note, I believe that town manager has been teaching at the community college nonstop. I think this is going to be his 30th year. Is that correct, town manager?
I've been teaching adjunct, for 30 years. And
30.
I haven't missed a fall or a spring semester in that time frame. So.
Super, great. Thank you very much. So once a year, we have to affirm this. Any questions of the town manager by any of the councilors?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd make a motion that we vote on item 2021-001 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a first and a second. Thank you very much. So councilors, this is a vote to approve item number 2021-001. This is a roll call, please.
Counselors, Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Grassetti.
Yes.
That's 12 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Congratulations. Great work. Thank you. I would now ask Councilor Levesque if you would kindly read into the record item number 2021-002, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is new business may be acted upon, roll call majority vote. This is item number 2021-002, acceptance of a grant in the amount of $6,000 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Office of Grants and Research, Highway Safety Division as written.
Second.
Great. We have a first and a second. Do we have someone from the, is Ann Spillane with us?
I'm filling in today for Ann Spillane. My name is Lena Bevilacqua.
Welcome, Lena. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak on this item?
Yes. Good evening, President Hebert, town councilors. My name is Lena Bevilacqua from the Barnstable Police Department. This is a grant. It's a pedestrian bicycle safety grant. It was developed to enhance pedestrian and bicycle enforcement to reduce fatalities and injuries in these areas. Along with the enforcement and educational aspects, there will be 95 bicycle helmets that will be purchased with the grant funds and distributed by the school resource officers to children that cannot afford to purchase a helmet. This grant is to raise awareness of the bicycle laws and address safety concerns with motorists and pedestrians. The hope is to reduce the number of vehicle-pedestrian accidents. This is a reimbursement grant whereby overtime is paid up front and then a request for reimbursement is submitted. There is no match required.
Thank you very much, Lena. Appreciate that. Any counselors with comments or questions?
Seeing none, Mr. President, I make a motion that we vote on item 2021-002 as presented.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a first and a second. Councilors, this is a vote to approve the item as written, item number 2021-002. Madam Clerk.
Counselors Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapgrassetti,
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
12 yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would now ask Councilor Snap if you would kindly read into the record minutes, item number 2021-003, please.
Yes, Mr. President, this is item 2021-003, appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $300,000 of community preservation funds for the creation of 2 moderate income deed restricted 2-bedroom apartments at 255 Main Street, Hyannis. This is an item of new business referred to a public hearing on August 20th, 2020.
Second.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a first and a second. Any comments? We're just referring this to a public hearing of on our next meeting on the 20th, right? So this is a vote to simply move the item as written, item number 2021-003 for a vote. Madam Clerk, please.
Counselors Neary,
Oh, yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapgrassetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
That's 12 yes.
Thank you very much. I would ask Councilor Shaughnessy if you would kindly read into the record item number 2021-004, please.
Thank you, President Hebert. This is new business, which may be acted on by roll call majority. This is item number 2021-004. This is a resolve to accept the grant of a sidewalk easement from Victory Chapel for new sidewalk in Merchants Way, Hyannis, Massachusetts.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. And we would ask Director Santos if you would please give us the rationale.
Thank you. As part of a project that is funded by a MassWorks grant, the town of Barnstable intends to install a sidewalk along a portions of Merchants Way, which is a private road. As a result, the town has sought an easement from the adjacent property owner, the Victory Chapel, to allow the sidewalk to be constructed along the private roadway. Regarding financial impact, the easement will be acquired at no cost to the town. Additionally, the construction of the sidewalk is being funded completely by the MassWorks grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments to Director Santos on this item?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we vote on item 2021-004 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Councilors, this is to approve the item 2021-004 as written. Madam Clerk, please.
Councilors Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
and Neary.
Yes.
12 yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I would ask Councilor Dagwan, please, to read into the minutes of the night, item number 2021-005, please. And that's on your page 2. No, page 26.
Yes, Mr. President. Item 2021-005, resolved to accept the grant of a sewer main, pump station, and force main easement from Cape Cod 5-cent Savings Bank. This item may be acted upon and requires a roll call vote.
Second.
And a second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. We would ask again Director Santos, please.
Thank you. The town of Barnstable and Cape Cod 5-cent Savings Bank entered into a memorandum of understanding whereby Cape Cod 5 would build sewer infrastructure, which is a pump station, sewer mains, and force mains, necessary for the sanitary sewer needs of their new headquarters at 1500 Iano Road in the town of Barnstable. The town of Barnstable would take over ownership and maintenance of the sewer infrastructure, which will be used for future sewer expansion in the region. The easement grants the town the exclusive permanent right to install, inspect, operate, maintain, change the size of, renew, replace, and repair sewer pump station, force main, and piping, as are from time to time needed for the transportation of sewage, and together with the right to enter in connection therewith, all under, over, and across the Cape Cod 5 property. These easements are being required at no cost to the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any councilors' comments, thoughts?
Mr. President, I move that we vote on item 2021-005 as presented.
Second. We have a first and a second. Thank you very much. Councilors, this is to approve the item 2121-005 as written. Madam Clerk, please.
Councilors Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Sorry, yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp.
Yes.
12 yes.
Thank you very much. I can't help but I want to leave you smiling. It's just nice of the Cape Cod 5 to give us another place to make deposits. So you'll think about that before you go to sleep. And I don't know if you noticed that my shirt, if I move, it kind of vibrates. It's an electrifying shirt, and but I promise to never wear it again on a Zoom meeting.
Thank you for that, Mr. President. It was electric.
So thank you very much. This concludes the business of the night. Our next regular meeting will be August 20th, the same place, same time. Thank you all. A pleasant evening, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
First,
Second.
Thank you very much. Do we have to take a vote?
Yes, you do.
We do. Okay, Madam Clerk, thank you. You always get the last word.
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Field goal, yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yes.
It's 12 yes.
Thank you very much. We hope we've all had a good time and have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Have a good weekend.
Good night, you too. Safe
Paul, I
safe
got your
weekend.
message.